Hello everybody, welcome to the Red Devil Experience. How is everybody doing? Manchester United news today. Transfer spin coming out after Manchester United have a very bad performance and loss yet again. Is it true? Is it just spin? We're going to get into that. Amorim is under fire. Osimhen and Quenda potentially coming to Manchester United. Casemiro refusing to leave Manchester United and wants to stay. And more coming your way. We're going to get into all the news today. We're going to talk a little bit about yesterday. We're going to talk about Ruben Amorim and maybe what he can do and change, and how much time he has, and if Ineos are really gonna back him. There's a lot to get into today's show, so stick around with us. Get involved in the chat. Bring energy. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your opinions and thoughts. If you're watching this show after it's gone live, get involved in the comments down below. Leave us your thoughts and opinions. We always respond, and maybe we'll bring them up on the next show if they are good enough. Now, before we get started, please smash the like button because it helps the channel grow and we greatly appreciate it. So if you want to support us, the best thing you can do is obviously subscribe, but also hit the like button because the likes get us pushed out there. It helps with the algorithm. So if you do that, we greatly appreciate it. And if you're new and you enjoy the content and you enjoy our wonderful community that we always have here, then subscribe and make sure you hit the notification bell so that you get your notifications for when we go live, so you don't miss a live, so you're always here in the discussion. Richard is here. How you doing, Richard? I hope you're doing well. I'm sure the others will join us soon. But let's start off with this. It's a little bit smaller of news, and it's negative news. So I think let's get past the negative stuff, and maybe we'll get to the more potentially maybe positive stuff. But the negative story that we're going to start with is, unfortunately, Dan Gore has returned to Manchester United to receive treatment on a foot injury just 2 weeks after he left on loan to Rotherham. Gore is believed to have suffered a hairline foot fracture during a training session. And this is just bad news. It's sad news for him because, again, he suffered another injury. He just suffered a very serious injury before he had surgery. He just came back. I think he featured for us once, and then he looked all right. He looked decent. He was playing with the under-21s, and we loaned him out. And we were all hoping for a good experience, and it hasn't gotten off to the best start. He's gotten a foot injury, and he's returned to receive treatment. They have not said how long he will be sidelined for with a hairline foot fracture, but hopefully it's not long time. We need him to play football, as much football as possible, so he could gain some experience and develop and grow as a player, and hopefully he develops and grows as a player so that we can integrate him into the first team, because we're gonna need to fill spots. I think one of the big things about Manchester United that's probably going on right now is that a lot of people are asking for the youth. They're calling for the youth to be put in. I'm part of that, but I have my reservations. But I think we're a team in a situation where we beggars can't be choosers. We're down in depth. We don't really have choices. Our first team players aren't performing well. They're not getting the job done. And there's nothing else we could really do but, maybe look to the youth and chuck a couple of them in there. I hope the fan base is, nice to them and understands the situation of how we cannot destroy these young players if that happens. But I also look at Manchester United in a larger picture in the project, and the amount of players that needs to be replaced in the squad, or a number of positions that we need to get players into the squad. It would obviously help Ruben Amorim and Manchester United, the club as a whole, if we can actually develop some of these youth players that we have that are maybe on the precipice of coming into the first team and filling some of those gaps. It saves us money. It's a positive story. They're one of our own. Everybody loves to see one of our own come through the youth systems and play for the first team and be a great player. So there's positivity in that. But mainly, it'll help with the squad building. I mean, if we can get like 3 players, three players from our current crop of youth players, and they're good enough that we can slot them into the team. That's three less players that we have to spend money on. In January, not in January, in the summer, and in the overall project. Instead of buying 7 or 8 players, we might just have to buy 5, which obviously benefits us since we're in a bad financial situation. Now, obviously, they need to be good enough. They need to be ready. We can't just be chucking in, and using players that are going to clearly struggle, are clearly not ready. We can't do that to them. But if we can progress them, then obviously that's a good look. And that's something that, Ineos, obviously under scrutiny for a lot of right reasons, and rightfully so, but it hasn't been 100% bad. I don't know what percentage you want to put it on, but listen, one of the things that they're doing is that they are looking at a lot of youth players. They're trying to bring in a lot of young players, which is always a positive for Manchester United, because it's part of our DNA, it's part of our history, it's part of our club. So that aspect, they're doing a decently good job on that. And hopefully it pays off. But the problem is that, there's no patience and there's no time, really left. These things, unfortunately, probably need to get fast tracked. There's a lot of pressure for these things to develop more quickly. We're less patient on this aspect. So, let's see where it goes. But I do think that Ruben Amorim, and he had some quotes yesterday, and we're going to get into that later in the show. He had some quotes about the youth. He had some quotes about his job and how difficult it is. And we're going to get into that, because I really want Ruben to bring in some of these players if they're ready. If they have a chance. I don't want a player to be thrown to the wolves if they're not going to stand the chance. But if there's a potential, if they're doing decently good in training, maybe they're not fully ready, but you know what, they're impressing in certain aspects, then let's go for it, because I think that's one of the only things that's really going to potentially save Ruben Amorim for the rest of the season. I don't think he's got many options. I think, fans are arguing Ruben Amorim has to change his system. I was listening to some of the, ex-players, not even just from United, but in general on Dimitar Berbatov was speaking yesterday. Gary Neville was speaking yesterday, along with some other pundits that aren't from Manchester United. And the general discussion was basically like Ruben Amorim has to change his style of play. He needs to change his formation. And he has to do it now, because if you don't get the wins, the gap, that brings us closer to relegation battle, can potentially close. And right now he has a cushion, and he has to do it. And, couple people making counterpoints saying that, listen, he kind of can't do that. He made a stake. He made a stake in the ground. He planted his flag, where he clearly and adamantly said that, I'm not gonna change it. I'm playing this way, and that's it. And it'll look bad for him. So he might have to die on that hill. And I'll talk about that as well. But Richard saying, I feel sorry for Dan. He had a bad shoulder injury, and now this. Yeah, I mean, it's always unfortunate, and it's sad when these things are happening, especially to these young players that all they're trying to do is just grow, develop, and they're trying to live out their dream of becoming a first team Manchester United player and representing the club. And obviously it means a lot to them, because they grow up there. It's basically their entire life. There's nothing else that really matters to them. And these types of things set them back. It stunts their development. It stunts their growth. Sometimes it stops them from reaching their full potential. So hopefully none of that really happens. Hopefully it's just a minor setback to Dan. Hopefully he, finds out a way to overcome this. Because he's, these are two sort of back-to-back injuries, and what you don't want is a youth player to become injury prone at this young age. So hopefully he figures out how to keep fit. But sometimes it's just a genetic thing, and there's not much you can do about it. I mean, you can try and do as much strength training as possible, but sometimes you can't overcome that. But hopefully, I wish him the best, and hopefully he recovers very quickly rather than later. And then we'll keep an eye out on him. Grace says, "OMG, you don't look homeless." Yes, I don't look homeless anymore. I look like a human being that has a house and is a member of society. Not to downplay people that are poor and misfortunate or homeless. But yeah, I was looking real rough. I woke up rather late today. And I was planning to wake up early and get a haircut, and I woke up rather late, and I was like, I need to go get one. So I just went and did it. Sometimes you just gotta go do it. You just gotta go do it. And now it's done and over with, and I look like a human being, and I feel better about myself. Because I was definitely looking bad. Grace says, jingle bells, Amorim smiles, kick him out the door. And Richard says, I think he has to take more risks now. Yeah, maybe. I think he does. I think he has to take the risks with the players, and he's indicated that. And I'm gonna circle back to that because I want to get to the other news that we have, and then we'll circle back to Ruben Amorim. Maybe some things that he can do, issues that are arising or have arisen, and what is the rest of the season gonna look like for him, and where the fans stand on this, because there's a lot of impatience growing right now. There's it seems like they're the minority, but it seems like it's growing very slowly, that more people are getting more agitated. They're getting less patient with Ruben Amorim. They're calling for his head. They're not happy with him. Some of them asking for him to be sacked, which I completely disagree with, and I find just incredible that we can be asking for a manager that's been here for about 3 or 4 months to be sacked, knowing the rest of the situation that's going on and stuff that's happening. So Grace says, bring Lingard back. Well, maybe not Jesse Lingard, but we do have a story on somebody else possibly returning. But before we get to that, let's get to Giovanni Quenda, because yesterday when we were talking after the match, at the end, we did say that we expected some news. And usually how it goes about Manchester United is when Manchester United lose, it's one of two things. It's either more negative news of bad stuff going on around at the club come out after a loss, or we get a bunch of what many people coin as spin, and they view it as PR by the club being leaked to the press about potential transfers in the summer, and they kind of do it to distract people of the loss yesterday, the problems. They try to get them caught up in the hype of the summer, which is, essentially kind of kicking the can down the road, and shifting people's focus on the problems that we're facing today and making their attention focus on the summer transfer window and kind of forgetting about this season. And Amorim kind of had a quote that kind of went with that as well. But I think he's had it for different reasons, and we'll get into that as well. Richard says this is a long-term project. Well, yes. I mean, it should be. It has to be. But also, I would say, Richard, that, what we need things to encourage us along the journey. It's fine if it's a long-term project, and you come with the understanding that yes, it's going to take time. Yes, this mess has been created over amounts of years, and it's not something that is fixable within a year or two. I would say it's obviously going to take a numerous amounts of years, but along that journey, their job is to show us that they're doing the right things, they're serious. The plan is competent, and it's been sort of a mess, and it's been sort of a shit show so far. And now their job is to kind of correct that and restore faith to fans, because they need it. They need it for themselves to keep the fans on side, and they're losing the fans. They're losing the fan base. And they need to make sure that they do things correctly, and they need to do things that fans want and fans accept. So, it's all good if it's a long-term project, but I think the problem that's being faced right now is that people are worried about the direction the long-term project is going. They don't feel confident in it, and they're not trusting it. They're not trusting it, and so I would say that Ineos and whoever else in charge, maybe Amorim is part of it as well. They need to show some signs of encouragement that, hey, there is something here that, while there is many problems, this aspect is going well. And right now we don't have any of that because we're playing bad on the pitch. We're not getting wins. There's things going on above the manager. People are getting sacked. People are losing their job. Cuts are being made. Statements coming from Sir Jim Ratcliffe or out of the club are not things that Manchester United fans are trying to hear. Sir Jim Ratcliffe telling the fans that we don't understand the financial situation at the club and these things are necessary, and kind of like not really reading the room and relating to Manchester United fans. So it is a big mess right now, and Ineos have had a big hand in creating this, and obviously the Glazers are still there, so the Glazers are still doing Glazerish things behind the scenes. So it's a lot of things that we need to fix. It's a lot of things that we need to straighten out. It's not going to be a quick fix. It can never be a quick fix, but they need to show us on the way. But we do have Quenda, and this news came out today from Ben Jacobs and Give Me Sport, saying Manchester United are progressing in talks over Sporting Lisbon winger Giovanni Quenda's reunion with Ruben Amorim this summer. Again, it's always for the summer, which is kicking the can down the road a little bit. But they followed that up by saying, I shouldn't have gotten rid of that. They followed it up by saying Manchester United value Giovanni Quenda lower than Sporting, who seek around £50 million. For the 17-year-old, United believe he is worth close to £33 million and want to pre-agree his summer arrival to fend off rivals. Now, I think Quenda is a very good young player. My friend that is a Sporting fan, a Sporting lifelong fan, doesn't want him to be sold. He wants him there. So much to the effect that he personally, if he was in charge of the club, he would be demanding 100 million for his release. That's how much he wants to keep him there. I've watched him a couple times. He's a very good player. He's an exciting player. He's very young, 17 years of age. And obviously he fits Ruben Amorim's system because he's played in it already, and he already has played well. Now, albeit it's in the Portuguese league, some of the appearances have been in the Champions League, which is good. And listen, they're obviously trying to get as much money as possible. And obviously you can see there's a difference in price. I don't think we should pay 50 million. There obviously 50 million is for, probably 25 million for performances right now, ability, and the other 25 million will be for potential, because in today's age you pay a lot for potential. You probably pay more for potential than you actually do for current ability. So I understand their asking price, and I understand our asking price, because paying 50 million for a 17-year-old that's only played in the Portuguese league and has only had a handful number of appearances in the Champions League in Europe at the highest level, is a risk. It's a risk. It's a risk that Manchester United can't really take because of all the dumb, stupid transfers that we've done, the financial position that we're in, the threat of not being in Europe at all after the season ends. So, obviously we're trying to get as low as a price as possible. I think that obviously, considering this, we'll probably try to meet somewhere in the middle, and we'll probably have a bunch of performance-based add-ons, which I won't be against if the price rises over time based on him accomplishing things at Manchester United. That's how these deals should always be done, and that's how these deals should always go. If they want 50 million, we can offer you 30 up front or something like that, and then after a certain amount of appearances, we could give you some money. If he scores a certain amount of goals, we'll give you some money. If we win the Prem, or, if we qualify for Champions League, we could give you some more money. Something incentive that, he's performing for Manchester United and we're willing to pay you a little bit extra because the player has become a good buy for us. he's produced for us. He's helped us grow and achieve things, and therefore we can compensate you for that. That's how it should always be done. So initial fee, if we pay like 30 million plus or 35 million plus some add-ons and it rises another 10 million or something like that, I have no problem with it. I just don't think we should be paying 50 million outright, which is probably what they're going to ask for. But I think there's ways to negotiate. We have a very good relationship with Sporting. We've always had a good relationship with Sporting. We've maintained that relationship with Sporting, which is actually a positive after what Ineos did and kind of forced Amorim to, you know, kind of abandon Sporting in the middle of the season and kind of leave them. Because obviously he wanted the Manchester United job. He wanted to take it in summer, but they forced his hand and it was an hour and everything. And, you know, for Ruben, he decided to take it. So, Rajat says you're doing great today. Hopefully, I'm all right. I'm doing good. You know, it's day off, day of rest. Went and got a haircut, so I'm good. I hope you're doing good as well. Gray says, great, another primary school child. Listen, he is a good talent though, Grace. He is a good talent. He's young. I think he's actually one that he wouldn't even go into the reserves. Because he's playing first team football and he's performing and he's very young. And I know Manchester United is different, but he is a player that I would see that if he's not at least gonna if you're not gonna at least start him, I think he's one that you could definitely certainly put on the bench and give him sub appearances from there and allow him to grow. I think he's already at that stage where like he doesn't need to go to the under 21s or the under 18s. You can certainly put him in the you know, the match day squad, put him on the bench and allow him to come in and be a sub and be like a super sub and let him grow from there. I do believe he is that good. From what I've seen from him so far, he is an electrifying player. And I think it would be a good buy for Manchester United. We just got to make sure that we get the price correct. Is that Quenda or R-Truth? Richard says, my point has always been that with better players, they would also be more adaptable. Rajat says, yo, fix up Jim. Rajat says, may as well try out Bob the Builder. He couldn't do much worse. Couldn't do, no, it's no fact. Well, Bob the Builder would get the job done for sure. Richard says the Muppeteers also reported this. Yes, they did. And Rashad asking, do I live stream FIFA video game or not? I do not, because I don't really play it anymore. Maybe back in the day, if we started this, I would have been doing those things. But I really don't enjoy the game, and I no longer play it. I was playing it. I quit in November. That's how bad it is for me. I just don't enjoy it. So maybe in the future, we'll return to that, and we could do those things. But yeah, I might stream some other games though when they eventually come out. Maybe some Grand Theft Auto or something like that. Yeah, but we'll see. 50 million euros. It's not even euros, Rashad. It's pounds. 50 million pounds is a lot more realistic. 50 million euros is a lot. Oh, all right. I skipped ahead on your quote. 50 million euros is a lot more realistic fee than 50 million pounds. Yes. Ray says, would rather Frimpong. Please don't raid Sporting. Well, listen, I think rating Sporting is not even that bad. I know we've had sort of a past history with this, especially with Erik ten Hag kind of rating Dutch players that he's worked with. And I know Manchester United fans are worried about this, but the thing is that, like, we didn't even necessarily, you know, Ten Hag came from Ajax, and we didn't even necessarily rate Ajax. Like, we took Anthony, we overpaid for him. There was other players that fans wanted that seemed better, like Kudus, and we didn't go for him. And you know, the thing with Sporting is they have a very good academy. They're always producing top players. So I don't even think it's that bad of an idea if we do raid Sporting and we get a couple players. We know they fit the system. We don't know how well they do in the Premier League team, but in the Premier League itself. But generally speaking, Portuguese players not all, but a lot, and most Portuguese players that come from Portugal, or started off in Portugal, and maybe they go somewhere else, and then they end up in the Premier League. They do particularly well in the Premier League. They adapt well. They adapt to the football. They play pretty good, and they're impactful. And we've had some examples of that at Manchester United. There's examples of that at Manchester City. There's examples of that. Liverpool have Jota, and all types of things like that. So there's multiple clubs, multiple teams in the Premier League. There's multiple Portuguese players. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea. I don't think we should get all the players that we need from Sporting, but if we get like 1 to 3 players, not bad. They have some very good players. They have, Diamande, they got Gaio Queiroz, they got Quenda, they got Hoimland, whatever his name is, the midfielder. They're all very good players. They're all very good, and I would take them in because they'd probably be better than everything we've got right now. So, but we should also be looking to get players like a Frimpong. I like Frimpong, and I would like to get Frimpong as well, but they're two sort of different players. Like Frimpong is more generally accepted as a wing back, and Giovanni Quenda is more of Diallo. Giovanni Quenda is more like Diallo. He is a winger at heart, but has a good work rate. Will play that wing back role the way Ruben Amorim wants, which is you have an attacking-minded, attacking intent. That is your first thing, but you have the work rate and you have the heart and the desire to track back to do the defensive work, and you fight for the team. So he is a player like that. So, Gray says 50 million pounds would be disgusting for a 17-year-old. I thought he was best in class. Brighton would get him for half of that. Well, that's the thing. Like, we shouldn't be paying 50 million up front. We can definitely pay a fee, and I understand Sporting's position. He's a young player. They believe in his potential. They believe in his current ability, and they're gonna obviously demand the most money because they stand to lose money. They stand to lose money. Kind of like how they lost with Cristiano. They sold Cristiano for cheap. And at the time maybe it wasn't considered cheap, but after they saw the development of Cristiano, they were like, well, we sold him for very cheap because he became the best player in the world, and we could have sold him for more money. And that's the sort of thing. Now, this is what I'm saying. Like, in today's time, you pay a lot for potential, especially for these players that are 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Those clubs, they want the extra money because it's not just about current ability. It's about the potential of what they can become. And, it's their player. So, again, we shouldn't be paying 50 million up front, but I have no problem if we structure a deal that we pay 30 or 35. I still think it's a lot for a 17-year-old, but he is quite good for that age. And then we have some incentives and add-ons that raises the price. And I have no problem with that, because if we have to pay those incentives, that means that he's turned into a good player and that he's performing for us, and that we're going to be happy with him. So I won't have a problem with paying the money if he turns into a good player. So, Rajat saying Eric Ten Hag wanting him. They got Maz, but sadly no Pong. Well, Maz isn't even a bad buy. Maz has been a good buy, but we certainly need more, in the squad. And as you can see, we're lacking a lot of depth. Grace is 50 million for a bench player. No thanks. Yeah, I mean, but this is the point I'm trying to drive home. Like, you can't pay 50 million upfront direct. Final fee. It has to be lower than that. And that's the actual fee. 33 million. In today's time, it sounds like a lot. Maybe it is for a 17-year-old, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not really a lot. All the prices are inflated. The money is inflated. And you just don't pay that 50 million up front. You have to make it into a deal where there has to be incentives. And it has to be performance-based. It has to be merit-based. And I think they'll do something like that, because so far they've done things like that in the transfer deals that we've done. We've paid some very good prices. I mean, we paid 30 million for Dorgu. And he's on a low wage. He's on 40,000. So I think when it comes to that, they're doing an all right job. They're doing okay. And I don't expect them to upright pay 50 million for a 17-year-old. I expect them to do a deal that is probably acceptable. Gray says promote someone and buy a first team player. Well, you could do that too. You know, if they're if they're there, if they, you know, if they're ready, if they're available. You know, there's somebody like Boncari who can play sort of that, but I don't know. You know, I don't know enough about him in terms of can he play a wing back position. I know he can play striker as well, but he can also kind of play on the wings. You know, I don't know. I don't know their profiles. Obviously, we can shape them maybe a little bit more, but they have to have certain natural abilities or, you know, a mindset or something like that. So, you know, I'm all here for promoting the youth if it's something that works. But obviously, they have more of a know than us because they get to see them in training. They can see them in training against the first team. They can see them in training in the under 21s. So they obviously, you know, have more of a know than we do. It's all good to watch them in a game or something like that, but you know, they're watching them on a daily basis, keeping track of them. They know everything about them. So I just have to trust Ruben Amorim on this. And I think he will bring youth players that he can, that he trusts, that he feels like are ready, and the others maybe they're not ready, and we're gonna need some other players. He obviously knows Quenda well. He knows his abilities. He knows his character. He knows his personality. So maybe that's why he wants him. And it's not necessarily a bad buy for Manchester United either. Young player. Eric is basically saying he should have FIFA. No. Not at all. I am Division 1 slash Elite Division player. I've gone 20-0. Well, not 20-0 anymore. Now it's 15, but not this year. But I've gone 20-0 last year. Ultimate Team, playing Ultimate Team. I used to be a top 100 player at one point in time. This was years ago, but you know, and pro clubs. I used to play pro clubs as well. We used to be top 5 in the world in pro clubs. Yeah, I'm a very good FIFA player. I just hate the game. It's a very bad game. It's not fun. You play it, it feels like a chore. It gets you very angry. The gameplay is very bad, so I just refuse. As much as I love football and I want to play a football game, I refuse to play something that doesn't bring me happiness or joy. You know, it's not me, it's the game. This time. Lyle is here as well. Lyle, how you doing? Grace says the fans moan why we have no money to buy players. Well, we have no money to buy players, Grace, because number one, we've spent the money very poorly, but also because of the Glazers. So there's and spending stupid money on spending stupid money on bad recruitment is also part of the Glazers anyway. But there's two factors to the Glazers. There's the debt that they put us in and the financials that they done, but also the people that they employed as CEOs and to run the club and allowing them to make bad deals like signing Harry Maguire for 80 million, Anthony for 80 million, Rasmus Højlund for a very high price for his young age, and et cetera, Jadon Sancho for the price and him being a bust. You know, those are all very bad deals. Very bad deals, high prices. It leaves the club in a position to be exposed if it doesn't go well. You know, and a deal like this isn't necessarily bad. He's young. Amortization, you spread that payment out, and you know, if he's here for 4 years and he doesn't become the player that we think that he is, we can recoup that money. Just like how we were lucky enough to kind of make a profit on Jadon Sancho. Even though we paid stupid money for him, we ended up somehow making a slight profit on him because of amortization. So as long as we like, old Manchester United would probably pay, not old Manchester United, but Manchester United under Ed Woodward or Richard Arnold would probably pay 80 million for Quenda, which is obviously a horrible deal. Paying, you know, 35 million plus add-ons for a 17-year-old, yeah, it's a risk, but also he's young enough that, you know, by the time he hits 21, 22, if he's not as good as we wanted him to be, we can still sell him. We'll recoup that money, and we'll probably break even or not. We won't be losing massive money like we've done, or we won't be stuck with him because we're not going to give him a super high wage. So we're not going to get stuck with him. So there's differences. But, you know, the Glazers leaving the debt there, part of the reason why we have no money to buy players is because we're literally paying 60 million on interest on the debt alone. And, you know, forget about paying the debt. We're literally just paying 60 million a year on the interest alone. So that's hurting us. And that's the Glazers. And then they also employed people that overpaid for players, probably on purpose for commercial reasons and to boost the or inflate the club value. So mainly the reason why we can't spend money is pretty much all because of the Glazers. It's not because we necessarily go out and we've spent all this money on in a way. Because if we spent the 1 billion that we've spent in the past and we spent it good, number one, we would be getting success out of this, so we would be making more money, and it would kind of, you know, level itself out a little bit. But also we would be achieving what we wanted, so it wouldn't be a problem, and we would also be able to continue spending. So, you know, we need to buy. That's the thing. That's the thing. The thing is, I know people are. They're afraid. They're scared. They're worried. They don't want to. They don't want a repeat of the past mistakes. But the cold hard truth is, we still need to spend. We still need to buy. Like, we still need to spend to get out of this. We're not gonna get out of this without spending money, because other clubs are that are ahead of us are gonna continue spending money. And they're gonna keep getting better. And if we don't do the right things and we don't spend money, we're just going to keep falling further and further behind until it's, you know, actual relegation or something like that. So we do need to spend money. We do need to buy players. We just need to do it better and smarter than we've done it in the past. And we need to get the correct profile of players. You know, I had this argument yesterday that I was saying that, you know, I was talking to one of my friends yesterday. It's an Arsenal fan, and I'm trying to explain to him, because he's an Arsenal fan. He doesn't understand what's going on at Manchester United. So I broke it down to him, and I'm trying to explain to him, you know, because he's talking about Anthony. Lord mentioned Anthony yesterday. After we got off, Anthony ended up scoring another goal. That's 3 goals in 4 games, 3 man in the matches. And, you know, I said, you got to, you know, obviously in the short term, he's going to be hitting it. Right? But let's see what happens over the long term. Or maybe he's just better for the Spanish league and Real Betis. You know, it is what it is. But one of the things that I was trying to explain to him that I do truly believe is that, you know, I see a lot of our fans saying this yesterday after Anthony scored, that our club is cursed, that why is it every time we have a player, they're absolute dog shit. Once they leave the club, they play better. And I think part of that reason, and the belief that I have is that it's not necessarily that Manchester United are cursed, that it's so much of an internal problem in that, like, you know, the player comes there and there's just something so dirty, evil, and nasty that it destroys a player. And then once they leave, they, you know, come back to life. I think part of the problem, and this is what I told them, is that it's just poor recruitment. It's just really bad recruitment. We recruit players that we buy for big prices that they're not worth. That puts more expectation on them. We have a large fan base, so there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of pressure. But what also happens is we're not getting the right profile of player in. So what happens is we get these players in. They don't fit our system. They don't fit the Premier League. They're not what we necessarily need. They don't perform particularly well in the system or formation or style of play that we play. They look terrible. We move them on to another club, and that club is either, if it's not in the Premier League, you know, the league is different. It's a different level, so maybe they're able to play. The style of football is different, so maybe it suits their style of play better. There's less pressure on them because they're not playing for a massive club like Manchester United. So there's numerous amounts of factors that go into that. I don't think that it's necessarily that, you know, there's something there at Manchester United. Now, we all know the environment isn't the greatest, but I think it's more of just bad recruitment. I think it's just a bad look for Manchester United. And this is why we need to make sure we get the proper player, and the proper players with the correct mentality, attitude, and skill set. That's what we need to do going forward. I think the players that we gotten so far, you know, under Ineos, they look all very good. Very decent signings for good prices. And hopefully we continue that trend, because that's what's going to help us come back. That's what's going to help us be a better team. And now they got to do it for Ruben Amorim, and they have a big job in the summer that they have to do. So, you know, Chad is back as well. Lion says it's not a lack of depth that's killing us, it's a lack of quality that is. I think it's both. I would say it's both. I think it's a lack of quality and a lack of depth. I think it's definitely a lack of quality, and there's definitely a lack of quality in the depth as well. And I think it's a lack of depth. I think it's all around. We just don't have a team. We don't have a team. I mean, look at the state of our team now after suffering injuries. Two of our best players and important players are out for the season. The other ones, we don't know when they're coming back. Could be weeks, could be a month, could be 2 months. And you look at that, and you know, you feel sorry for Ruben Amorim. He tried to put a team together yesterday. And you know, you don't really have options to put that team together. And you know, the bench is all kids except for Victor Lindelof. And it's like, what do you do? What do you do in this situation? You know, that first team is lacking quality. We're now lacking depth, and we're lacking quality in the depth as well, because they're just kids, and probably most of them aren't ready to be playing in this first team. But we're gonna have to probably use them because we have no other choice now. So, Rajat says CFC have a plan to go get Arsenal targets. Well, that's Todd Bowley. Genius. Grace says only buy players if they go straight into the first 11. He needs to sort out who his first 11 are now, then work out what he needs to prioritize. Yeah. Yeah, I think that we do need, you know, first team players. We do need first team players for sure. You know, we do need to do that. I mean, we shouldn't just be necessarily buying. I mean, you can't just buy bench players, right? You need to buy players that are going to play in the first team. You need players that are going to go straight into the first 11. The thing with Quenda is that he's young. So I'm saying that I think it's a bit risky, or a big push. It's a big jump. It's a big, you know, leap for him to go from Sporting to Manchester United and be thrown into Manchester United first team. Although Ruben Amorim might do it, because he did something like that at Sporting, where he just did play the kids. Maybe he's a little bit worried because it's different, and Manchester United's a bigger beast than Sporting, and so maybe he's and the Premier League is a different beast as well, so maybe he's a little bit less inclined to do so, because he understands the pressures and he understands the demands, and he doesn't want to do that to the young kids. But no, yeah, you have to do that, but you know, a good mixture. You know, even if he's the only one that's sort of a bench player, and we get another 4 or 3 that are main first team players, then yeah, because we have to sort out the first team. The first team is obviously not good enough. We need first team players now. We need players that can go in and perform. We obviously, you know, we need a main man striker, for one. And we need a couple other positions. But then we also need some depth. And it's not necessarily that they're going to be bench players, but it's like, all right, you have Maino and you have Ugarte, right? Those, you would say, are our 2 main starters right now. You then need to bring in 1 or 2 more players that play in that position, that maybe they start off on the bench, but they're obviously first team players, and they're going to push them. And then your bench becomes, you know, 2 out of those 4 players that are, they're all first team players. They all can go into the starting 11. They have to compete with each other, and that's how you make the bench stronger. You make the depth stronger. You know, I'm not saying let's go out there and sign a bunch of bench players. No. But the thing is, this kid, he's young. He's 17, so I wouldn't want to throw him to the wolves, but I think he's good enough where he can come, be on the bench, add some depth, and he can fight for a first team place as well, without doing what we did to kind of Rasmus, where we grabbed Rasmus, and Rasmus is coming from Atalanta. He didn't play a lot. He didn't score many goals, and we're like, you are the main man of Manchester United, trying to figure out in his first season playing in a totally different league that's faster, that's stronger, and so that's where I'm getting on with that. Rajat says, will Tony Pulis love him at West Brom, maybe? Chad says experienced players is what we need. I think we need both. I think we need both. We need both. We need a mixture. But yes, certainly for the first team, more experienced players than unproven players. Obviously, we need experienced players. So, and Richard's saying we do need experienced players at the moment. We do, but I don't have a problem with doing this deal. But as long as we have the money, the funds, and the means for it, they can't. I don't know what their situation is because they keep talking about buying players and buying these players. In contrast, we're going to talk about in a couple minutes. Victor Osimhen has been linked to Manchester United again, apparently from a tier 1 journalist from Turkey. And he's an experienced, established player, so he's going to come in. He may potentially come in, so we get him, and you could get Quenda, and you could get some other players. I agree, Chad. A good mixer of talented youth and experience, and that's always what you need. Grace says I would play a 6 next to Ugarte, Bruno and Manu in the 10s, Ahmad right wing back, Dorgu left wing back, and Xerxes striker. Well, the thing is, Amorim said that he doesn't see Xerxes as a 9. He sees Xerxes as a 10. And he thinks he's more of a 10, and I think he's going to play him more of a 10. He said that yesterday. So, but as for right now, because you could play Xerxes striker, but I think we still need a striker. We need an Osimhen, we need a guy Ocares, we need somebody with that experience, like you guys have been saying. Gray says we're Manchester United, we're not a bloody nursery, but being part of Manchester United is getting youth players and developing them and growing them into first team players and making them stars and making them good players. That's part of Manchester United. It's not a bloody nursery. We're not taking care of him in that aspect. He's not a baby. He's a very good player for his age. He's a top prospect, like a very top prospect for a very young age. And we need to rebuild, and I would take him because I know he's going to be hungry, and there's a lot of potential in him, and I know he's gonna play in the system well because he's already played in that system. Barring then the fact that the Premier League is a big step up and Manchester United is a big step up, but that's something you have to deal with. That's why I kind of want to ease him into it, but I do think he has the skills and the talent to at least. Doesn't have to go to the under 18s, doesn't have to go to the under 21s. He can be somebody that's on the bench. And as somebody having a kid like that on the bench, I'll take it like every day of the week. So, Real Betis is not Manchester United. Well, that's for sure. Do we need to hire some babysitters? Grace says. Chad says I won't mind Ross Barkley, but he gets injured a lot. Yeah. Anybody that gets injured a lot, we need to stay very clear. Grace says Quenda is on 17. Can he be on TV after 8 p.m.? Maybe not. Chad says we needed a Van Dijk type defender, a proper leader like Company. Yeah, and maybe De Ligt can sort of kind of be that lead. I mean, De Ligt has that experience, but it's his first year here. The season hasn't gone particularly well, so it hasn't been that great of an environment to be in, especially in your first season in a different country, trying to find your spot. But we do need more leaders. We do need more, strong mindset players. So that's one of the things that they need to be identifying when they're going to buy these players. What is their attitude? What is their mentality? What kind of player are they? What do they do on their off time? Do they go out clubbing, or are they a family person? Do they stay home? Do they have a hobby of some sort? Do they live a quiet life? It's things like that. Lyle says Christopher Vell is the one to lead us in the transfer market. He has a very good eye for talent. Yes, he does, and he has been doing this job. He's here on a temporary basis so far. I think in terms of what we've done so far, I think we've done a good job. So I would say that he's done a good job. And it seems like he's going to get a permanent role. I'm pretty sure if he hasn't got one already. So, yeah, hopefully he continues and carries on. Rajat says Man City don't buy bench players. Well, they do. I mean, they do because they buy players that don't go into their first team directly because they already have a strong first team and then therefore they end up on the bench, but they are good enough to compete for a first team spot. It's not about if you're on the bench or if you're in the starting 11. It's about if you're good enough to fight for the spot. And what I'm saying is, I'm not saying buy a bench player that is obviously just like his quality as a bench player. I'm saying you can get players in that will go into the first team, and you can also get players that will fill out your depth that will go, like Quenda is 17. Like, obviously, don't throw him into the first team, but he can start off as a bench player, grow and develop. Like, you can't just throw this kid in like that. You're gonna destroy him. You're gonna ruin him. We're gonna do to him what, and he's much younger, but it's a problem that we did with Rasmus Højlund. We shouldn't have done it to Rasmus. Rasmus is clearly suffering and has suffered because of this. Rasmus should never have been the main man striker at Manchester United. We should have always had an experienced person ahead of him, and Rasmus would be there too. And Quenda is one of these people, like, he's good enough. I would start him off on the bench and see what he can give us and see how much he needs to grow and develop. Playing in the first team, but he's going to get minutes. He's going to get opportunities. He's going to develop. The pressure's not going to be all on him. He's going to be a reliever. And we're not going to be relying on a 17-year-old to be Messi and Ronaldo and do amazing things and have brilliant moments. We'll have experienced players, and we'll have Quenda, who is a top prospect. Need players who can compete as starters for Man United. But I think he can. This is what I'm saying. I think he actually can. I don't think there's many of them, but I think he can. I just wouldn't get him in and be like, you're starting from the very beginning. I think he's a player that I would start off on the bench, let him find his feet, let him get a taste for the Premier League, let him get a feel for it. Let's evaluate him. Let's see what he needs to fix in his game, improve on, what qualities he has good, and let him push these other players that we have for a spot. Let him push Garnacho for a spot. Let him push Diallo for a spot. Let him push them for it. I think he can do that. I just wouldn't start him immediately. I would start him off on the bench. Let him find his feet a little bit so that we don't, drown him in things. But, yeah, obviously, we need a striker. I'm not saying let's get a 21-year-old striker. We need somebody like an Osimhen. We need a guy who cares. We need somebody experienced. We need somebody sort of already complete. We need somebody well-rounded in other positions as well. Midfield position, we need something similar. We need somebody that's decently experienced of a certain age, 25, 26, that's ready to go, that could come in the first team, that's going to push Ugarte, that's going to push Meno for a spot. We have Collier already. That's there, and obviously he's injured, and maybe he'll come back, and this. So again, a nice mixture would be good. De Ligt is a leader; he just needs to take that responsibility himself. Yeah, I think he'll probably end up doing it. I just don't think this first season is not the right time for it. But I think as he stays here and as he grows and as he gets used to Manchester United, the league, and etc. I think he'll step up more because he's already been captain. He's already played a lot of Champions League matches. He's played for big teams, Juventus, Bayern Munich. He did well with Ajax when he was there. So I think he's that player that can step up and kind of take that mantle. I just don't think that, rip the captaincy off of Bruno and give it to De Ligt in his first season when the season is absolute just garbage and it's a horrid time. Timing is key as well. So I do think he will step up eventually, but Anthony is playing with Isco, a true genius that can impact the performance of his teammates. Well, maybe, but I mean, Anthony is doing some individual stuff. I mean, the goal he scored yesterday had nothing to do with Isco. It was just him. It was Anthony. Good technique, good shot, brilliant goal. Even some of the other goals. and again, you know, real better saying Manchester United. It's not the Premier League, and you know, maybe he's just better fit for there. You know, I'm not too worried about it, but it's certainly a bigger deal because we paid 80 million for him, and he was very bad for us. And if we paid, you know, 30 million, 40 million, it wouldn't be as big as a deal as it is, because he wouldn't be as hyped. There wouldn't have been as much expectation. Um, and it would be less of a loss. So again, just poor player recruitment. You know, poor player recruitment. And we need to stop it. We need to stop it. Rajat says, don't really watch our youth games. Got no idea. Neither do I. I don't really, I don't watch 90 minutes of the youth. I watch maybe some clips, some highlights. And I know about the players by name. Obviously, we have fans that they watch full 90 minutes of the youth. They know the youth very well. That's why I'm always inclined to listen to them because they know more about it than me. So I take their word for it. Lyle says Xerxes a 10 for sure. He was our best player yesterday. Yeah, him and Dorgu were the best players yesterday. Which is it's a bit worrying. It's a bit worrying because I say it's a bit worrying because again, these are players that they've just gotten here. So they play particularly well compared to our other players. And it's an issue because this thing keeps happening where we get these players in, they're new to the club, they perform particularly well, or they look very, very good. And the longer they're here, the worse they get because the environment is very bad. We're disappointing. We're not winners. We're losers. We're embarrassing. You know, and then things on inside the club, we don't know how toxic the dressing room is or what's going on behind the scenes. Up above, you know, things are happening that's not really lifting morale. It's bringing morale down. So maybe that's an effect that goes throughout the club and it's bringing the club down in all aspects. It's not making it a nice place to be. It's making it sort of a negative place to be. So, you know, it's worrying. I'm happy that they're doing good, and that they're playing well, but I worry because every time I just think like, how long is it until they get sucked into the shit? And how do we stop this from happening? Because it keeps happening and we need to stop it from happening because if we don't stop it from happening, this is just going to keep happening and we're not going to be able to progress because we're regressing players or players are not progressing. And we need players to progress because it's going to be one of the ways that's going to get us out of this shit situation. But it's such a monster that it keeps swallowing up all the players. And it keeps destroying them. And we need to figure out how to sort that out and stop that from happening and provide an environment where players can come here and actually enjoy themselves and actually grow and reach their potential and be good players, which brings positivity, which makes Manchester United a more attractive place to be and come and, you know, and play, and people that actually want to be there. So, Lyle says Big Zerk is slow, but there's a player there, just needs to refine his speed after his link-up play. Yeah, that's the only thing that's to me is his major problem. I think he has very good technical footwork ability, and I think he's kind of adjusted a little bit better, because he was struggling with releasing the ball in the very early stages of the game. And yeah, his one thing is his speed, that he is slow, which probably as a 10 would probably help because if he can do as good of a job as he has been doing as of recently, holding the ball up in the link-up play, it's probably better. The other problem is that, you know, playing in that 10 spot, sometimes they're narrow and sometimes they're wide, and that's one of his issues, is that when they have to go wide and he kind of has to like track back and stuff, he is particularly slow. So how effective he can be in that position, or maybe we have to switch it up slightly when he is on the pitch and play him a little bit more narrow than wider and adjust the team accordingly. So Lyle says Vivell is set for a permanent role to work with Wilcox, meaning no sporting director for now. That responsibility is set to be divided between them. Well, all right. I'm still concerned about that because I don't really like that. I mean, we were sold and we were encouraged about um having a sporting director. The sporting director didn't last long at all. We sacked the sporting director, and now as we're going forward, they're, as Lyle has just told us, that they're pretty much like there is no sporting director, and that responsibility is going to be split between Wilcox and Vavell, which it could work, and I hope it works. I'm just a little bit worried because we demanded to have a proper structure, and a proper structure includes a sporting director, and Manchester United probably right now aren't going to fill the void of a sporting director because we are struggling for money, and we paid for Dan Ashworth, sacked Dan Ashworth, still have to pay him, and we're still paying Eric Ten Hag, and now we're paying Ruben Amorim, and we paid for Ruben Amorim to come from Sporting as well while we're giving him his wage. So we're probably a little bit strapped for cash, and that's one of the reasons why we're probably not going to get a sporting director for the time being, which is not ideal because we're doing things because of financial reasons and not because of necessarily sporting reasons. Sporting reason would be we need a sporting director. It's the proper structure, so we need that gap filled. Saying and being like, well, we're not really going to hire a sporting director right now. We're just going to split the work between Wilcox and Vavell because we can't really afford to getting a sporting director. It's not the proper way. So I'm a little bit worried about that. Hopefully, at some point, and it's not too long, they end up getting another sporting director because that would fill me with a little bit more confidence that the football project is being led by football people. Because the way I see it right now is like Dan Ashworth was a football person. Sir Jim and Sir David Brailsford are not football people. And that's like, 2 out of the 5 of Ineos. Then we have Blanc, which nobody knows what he does, and his name's not even mentioned. I'm sure there's like a title for him, but like in terms of news and things that he's doing, nobody talks about him. So we don't even know what he actually is doing. We have Omar, who was CFO at Man City, but some people argue he was more of a financial guy than a football guy, but he obviously has more football knowledge than Woodward and Richard Arnold. And then we have Wilcox and Vavell, who are technically football people. And I would like a sporting director that is there that's a football person, because the more football people that we have, the better for the project. I'm a little bit worried at how involved Sir Jim is actually getting and how much power Sir David Brailsford and say he has, because they're not football people. And if they're overriding our football people, then there is definitely grounds for the project to go very, very wrong and fail, because they're just not football people. Rajat says, okay, why he is in the England team, don't really get it so much then. I don't know. You guys are talking about Angel Gomez. All right. Richard says, let's go get Dan Ashworth. Yeah. Sounds good. I mean, he is out of a job right now. He could, he's there. He's there for the taking. We could go get him. But let's go to this. Let's go to this piece of news real quick. So somebody that's already been mentioned, and Grace was saying, let's bring back Jesse Lingard. Well, not necessarily Jesse Lingard, but one of the trio, the dancing trio. Paul Pogba here saying, coming from Rich Fay and MUFC MPB, saying Manchester United could offer Paul Pogba a short-term contract on strict terms. He is desperate to get back to action. And we talked a little bit about Pogba yesterday. I am not for this. I don't want Paul Pogba back at the club. I don't think we should do it. And I think it would just be a little bit of a disgraceful thing. I understand why people are, well, listen, there's numerous factors. There's Pogba FC still lives in Manchester United, and they would take him back and pay him $800,000 a week just to get him back, which that's Pogba FC, and that's why they're crazy. But then there's other people that make the more, I guess, relevant argument that we need somebody. And if we bring him on a short-term basis to fill a gap, we could possibly use him in the midfield. We're obviously lacking depth and we're lacking some quality. He's experienced, and we could certainly use him to fill a void right now and use him in the midfield. My problem is that, one, I don't like going back to players that were once here. I don't like going back to the past. Two, his time here was very controversial. It was also very hit and miss. Sometimes he was good. Sometimes he was bad. He divided the fan base. He divided the club, which I don't think we actually need that at this moment in time as well. We don't need somebody that, intentionally or unintentionally is a divisive character. We have enough negativity and fighting as it is right now. Also, he hasn't played for, what, about 2 years now? Maybe, give or take. How good is he? He's been banned. I feel like he's a little bit washed. I would rather just promote a youth player and go with that than put Paul Pogba there. So I don't really want this. I'm not for it. I don't know if it's going to happen. They keep linking us with Paul Pogba. He's been linked with us for the past month or two, and now it seems to be getting stronger because we have a lot of injuries. We're suffering. We need players. We needed players in January. We didn't get more players, so he's an option out there, and he's desperate to get back to action, so he would be willing to come to Manchester United because he's pretty much has like no opportunities to go play football, and that's what he wants, is an opportunity to go play football so that he can probably go somewhere else and get a club, because nobody really wants to give him an opportunity considering the ban that he had and the amount of time that he hasn't played football and his age, and that he, in my opinion, he's injury prone. Juventus complained when he went back to Juventus. They complained that we didn't tell them about his injury problems, and they were very angry at us. And it was like, well, hold on, you guys signed him on a free transfer. We didn't sell him to you. You just signed him. It had nothing to do with us. We had no obligation to tell you that Paul Pogba is injury prone or he suffers from these injuries. So, and now he's older than previously, and he hasn't played football. So it's a concern. And for those reasons, I don't really want it. Richard saying, no. Rashad says, bring back John Azai and Rafa Morrison. I don't even know where they are right now. Isn't John Azai playing somewhere in the La Liga? And Rafa Morrison, I have no clue where he is. Can West Brown wear his boots again? Well, West Brown, we could probably use as a utility player. Lyle says, never go back to your ex. Yep, that's life lesson. No matter what they offer you, and no matter what they promise you, don't do it. It doesn't work out well. Rajat disagreeing, saying not never, but 90 to 95% true. Maybe. I mean, you can never put a 100% stamp on anything, right? Lion says, Pug back to back. Pug back 3.0. Oh, Jesus. Lyle says, imagine that. United to Juventus to United to Juventus to United. I mean, that's just like, I don't even know. I don't even think that's ever been done, like, ever in history. Lion says decent CV. I mean, yeah, he does. Rajat says, can't believe that, like, Pogba, that's going to make Man United look so dumb. And that's another thing. Like, it just makes us look so weak. Like, I understand we're not in a strong position. I understand that we're very bad. I understand that we're, down in the dumps and we're absolute shit. But it's just like adding more onto that. Like, we are so bad and we are so desperate that we're gonna sign a player that left us once, and we overpaid immensely to bring him back. And when he came back, it wasn't even like it was all good. It was very hot and cold. It was very divisive, and he ended up leaving us, and the ending was very bad. Like, he wasn't playing a lot. He was missing a lot of games. There was periods where his agent was coming out before a Champions League game, making statements about the club and not a good light and stuff like that. And he goes to Juventus and he takes the piss at Juventus, and he gets banned and he gets injured. And now Manchester United are signing this player because we are 100% totally screwed and we are desperate for anything. And it just makes us look weak and it makes us look desperate. And so I'm not for it. I just, at this point, I just look at it and I'm like, just get one of the youth players, promote the youth player. Let's try and develop them and grow them, because there's a future in them. There's no future in this. And Ruben Amorim isn't doing things, for the now, because if he's doing things for the now, he would switch the formation. He would play maybe a 4-2-3-1 counterattack, sit back and counterattack football to play to the team. And he's not doing that because he's not, yeah, he wants to win matches now and he's trying his best, but he's also more focused on, it's not about the immediate, it's about the longer term and then what we're trying to turn this into. And Paul Pogba, potentially, I mean, listen, just bringing Paul Pogba just because he's experienced doesn't mean it's going to go well. He could be absolute shit and he could be horrible. And he could play absolutely horrible. I mean, when he was here, there was a lot of discussion about that he's too slow for the Prem. He's way older now. He's more injury prone now. He hasn't played in a while now. So, if Casemiro don't got legs, I feel like Pogba don't really got the legs for the midfield. Maybe he has ability, but maybe he don't got the legs. So there's no guarantee that that'll go well either. So I would rather take a risk on a youth player than take a risk on Paul Pogba. Been there, done that. Don't want to go back to it. It's done and dusted. I don't want it. Lion saying Pogarang. To the boomerang. Lion says, I could see Pogba in the system, however. Dude will get injured 2 matches in. Then the negativity starts over again. Yeah, and that's one of the issues. Januzaj is at Las Palmas, and Morrison is in the Emirates, still playing. Oh. He's gone over there to play. All right, I didn't even know. The Europa winning season was Zlatan and Pogba's banter was a good run. It was. It was. It wasn't all bad and it wasn't all good. There was good moments, but it was just very divisive. It was very, at times it was controversial. And it divided the fan base a lot. And I just don't think it's something that we need. Like, I can already see it now. Like, if Pogba comes back, there's going to be a section of the fan base losing their shit like it's New Year's, cheering and going crazy, and they're going to start popping bottles and getting drunk and stuff and celebrating. The other part of the fan base is going to be absolutely furious. They're going to be pissed off. They're going to be mad. He goes to play a match. If he plays bad, everybody's going to be like, he's shit. Why did we bring him back? This club is a disgrace. And then the other fans are going to fight back, talking about, backing him, throwing dirt on the club. Like, I just don't think we need that right now. We don't need that. We don't need that. You could just have a story of a younger kid coming through, people supporting him. If they play good, everybody's going to be sort of hyped around the player, bring some positivity, and it actually benefits us for the future because we have somebody that we can actually grow and produce and will be for the future of the club. Not somebody that, in my opinion, as harsh as this may sound, and I'm trying to be as nice as possible, but I do think he is washed. I think he's washed. I think he's washed up, and I don't think it's worth it. I really don't. Lion says, I got a random recommendation from YouTube the other day with Pogba doing a live stream with some crazy American kid. It was the weirdest and cringy thing I've watched on here. I think that was Speed, I believe. I believe it was Speed. His name is Speed. I believe it was a stream. He was on a stream with Speed. Speed is a very popular YouTuber, or streamer. He's very, very big. He's all over the place. I think you've probably seen him in some pictures with Manchester United players. Huge Ronaldo fan. Ronaldo actually comments and talks to him, and he's friends with Ronaldo's son as well. So, yeah, that guy gets around a lot. So he's all over the place with all the footballers. He's done videos with Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Rashad says, I show meat is a crazy guy on here. Kidding, it's Speed. Yeah, I know what that's about too. But we're not going to talk about that. But, Yeah. Yeah, he's pretty big. He's pretty popular. Does some crazy things. He's high energy guy, but you know, he's entertaining. And that's all it is. That's all you need to be. Speed? Well, I couldn't turn it off speedy enough. Never heard of him. I think you got to give him a chance. I mean, maybe it's not for everybody, but you know, he does a lot of different things. He's a little bit crazy. You know, very high energy, a little bit all over the place, but he has some very funny streams, interactions with all types of people. So, you know, maybe you gotta watch a different one. But he does all types of things. So, Rajat says, how come when Zlatan talks and says about the same stuff as Ronaldo, one gets called he's arrogant and one is praised like an idol? I mean, it's a good point. It's probably just people's perceptions of those people. You know, and one being that Ronaldo is listen, Zlatan is big, right? But Ronaldo is bigger than Zlatan, and so Ronaldo has more haters. He also has more supporters than Zlatan. And it's probably just the way they carry themselves as well. Yeah, they're similar in terms of like certain arrogance, but there's also some differences in them. And it's probably just people's perceptions of them and how they deem them. You know, it's pretty much how it is. Richard says we have 13 games left. We need to win 4 to make sure we're not getting relegated. Let's stick with what we have. Yeah. I listen again. I would be very. I mean, I know the fan base is worried about getting relegated. I don't feel concerned about that. I don't think we'll actually end up in a relegation spot. As bad as we are, I just don't see it happening. I just don't think it will happen. I think we can certainly win 4 games out of the last 13, and I know that's such a low bar, and then, like, just to say that sentence is like insane to come out of my mouth. But you know, there's a lot of fans worrying that we're gonna get relegated, and I just don't think it's gonna happen. I really don't. I don't see those points being made up, and I think there will be games that we will win in between certain periods. I obviously I know that it's not probably going to get much better than it's been. But I still think that we'll be able to pull off those wins that we need. And also I don't believe in the teams below us to make up that point differential, because yes, we're bad, but they're also bad. And I don't think that they're going to find some bit of form where they're going to be able to go on such a run to make up the points and overlap us. I just don't see it happening. So, you know, it's obviously the higher you finish away from it, the better of a look it is, and the closer you finish it, the worse of a look it is. But I just don't think it'll happen. I think we'll be able to maintain it. I don't know how close we'll be to it, but I don't think we'll actually enter into that. I just don't think it's actually plausible. I think the only way that happens is if we lose literally every single match. If we lose all 13 matches, then yeah, but I don't even think that will happen. For how bad we are, I don't even think we'll actually lose 13 matches. I just don't think it'll happen. So I'm not too worried about that. Really what I want is kind of what Ruben Amorim wants, and I kind of said it yesterday. And probably many of you, I just want the season to be over. You know, I know we still have a European Cup to fight for and an FA Cup, but you know, I just feel like I feel like now we don't really have a chance. I was worried, not worried, but I was just like I wasn't so confident that we were gonna win one of those cups with that squad that we had. And now that we suffered these injuries, I just kind of feel like there's no chance that we're going to do it. But I understand some of the fans are like, listen, we still have cups to fight for. We can't just end the season. We need to keep fighting. We still have a chance to do something, and I get that. But I think many of us already know, like, nothing is going to get better until we get to the end of the season, and we can actually, the club can actually start a proper process in terms of transfers Ruben Amorim getting a preseason and, doing all those things and kind of just having an actual reset, a proper reset, because this period has been hectic. It's been crazy. It's been a mess. It hasn't gone well. It's just been bad. It's been bad. It's been hectic. Like we've thrown Ruben Amorim right into it. It hasn't gone well. It's been too many changes. His changes are big changes. It's a lot of changes. The team was already struggling. It added to the problems, and it's not gonna necessarily sort itself out. We're lacking personnel, and we're lacking more because of the injuries now. So it just keeps getting worse. So we just need to get to the end so we can just kind of hit the reset button and try and start better and stronger for next season. But Rajat says Man United will get 40 to 46, which is just that's just I don't even know. 40 to 46 points is unspeakable. It's unimaginable. I can't even fathom it. It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I know that's where we are. It's just like, even if you told me before we played the first match of the season that United would get somewhere between 40 to 46 points next season, I wouldn't believe you. And also I'd be like, how does that happen? Like what has gone on that has led us to that? Because how can that possibly happen? Lyle says we're super lucky the teams below us are even worse. Yeah, and that's really the only thing because Richard knows this all too well, but 72-73, or was it 73-74? 72-73, we pretty much are performing the same as the team that got relegated in 72-73. The 72-73 team lost 13 out of their 25 opening matches. We have lost 12 out of the 25 opening matches, first 25 matches of the season. So we are literally performing the same in terms of points and results as the team that got relegated, as the United team that got relegated, which is probably why people are concerned. Now, I don't know how the league table was at that time. I don't know the teams that were involved. In that relegation battle and how they were performing and how they were doing. But like Lyle pointed out, we are a bit fortunate because the teams under us are really bad. Like, they're really bad. And there's an argument that they're worse than us, and we are really bad. So we're a little bit lucky because of that. So we are, because otherwise it would be a lot more dangerous. And that's why I'm not too worried, because I just don't see them making up that point total. And I don't see us not getting a win here and there. I don't think we'll go on a run, but I think, you mentioned getting 4 wins out of 13 matches. I think the bar is so low that I can't even confidently say, like, we're 100% going to get that, but I do think that we will get it. Lion says, and if you disagree with Zlatan when he says something, he'll kung fu kick you in your neck. He absolutely will. Don't mess with Zlatan. He is, he will drop kick you. Richard says it also affects the money you get from the Premier League. It does. Although I don't think it's like massive difference, but it obviously there is a difference. I'm not 100% sure on that because I don't know the exact numbers of payments. So I'll probably go look it up later on. But yeah, it does. That does have an effect. So which is something that we are obviously concerned about. And Lyle says we will win the Europa League. I hope at Lionhearts has the water hinted at anything about the tournament. Well, obviously, I hope we do. But it seems as we keep going more forward, and while we have been, playing decently well in the Europa League, the thing that's concerning me now is the injuries. And if we pick up any more injuries, because the problem that's coming in now is that we've suffered a good amount of injuries. So we only have a certain amount of first-team players. We have some players like Mason Mount and Luke Shaw that we're waiting to get back and see if they're going to actually stay fit or not. But since we're so short on first-team players, we're probably going to have to play the youth. And if we don't play the youth as much, and we can't give rest to our other first team players, and we're lacking positions as well, then we may suffer more injuries, because now these players can't get the rest they need, and we're overplaying them, and they suffer injuries, and we get even more injuries. So now I'm that's the one thing that I'm worried the most about, is now it's about the injuries, because it's concerning, because it's decimated our depth, and it can get worse, because if we suffer 2 or 3 more injuries, we can suffer, and when we go to play Everton, we can suffer another 2 injuries, and they could be long term, and then what do we do? Like, the situation is only going to get worse, which is why I don't feel so confident about anything in terms of having some success in Europe or the FA Cup. Because before it was like, yeah, we're not performing, but at least we have a squad that we could kind of rotate from, and we have some options that we could pick from. Looking yesterday, I'm like, yeah, I want to play the kids, but we don't know what they're going to give us. We don't know what's going to come. And then also the rotation and preserving players, and making sure that the ones that did play yesterday and started yesterday, we got to make sure that they don't get injured, because we can't afford for them to be out of the team, because we're already clutching at straws as it is. So it's just getting tougher. It's getting tougher for Amorim, and it's getting tougher for us. So, and I don't know if we're going to be able to necessarily pull through, because it's like a foot. It's like a foot on top of our head, and it keeps applying more and more pressure, and it's getting harder and harder to not get crushed by it. So, Rajat says, do not think Man United win anything. Richard says, we cannot be in this position next season. No, 100%. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. There's no way. But one of my concerns is that, have we actually been like a mid-table team, and that one off season from Ten Hag was one off season? Because we finished in a bad spot prior to Ten Hag. The year before Ten Hag. Ten Hag came in, bring it up. We then finished 8th. Yeah, we had injuries, but we finished 8th. We didn't perform well in the Champions League. We got obliterated. And then this season started off very, very bad and very disappointing, and it's gotten even worse, and we're in our worst position that I think we've ever been for years and years and years. So my thing of concern is, where do we deem is acceptable for United to finish? Because what are we? What actually are we? Like right now we are mid-table, but when the season ends, like, fans are going to be demanding to get back in top 4, and I don't blame them, but at the same time, it's like, well, but if we're actually a level of a mid-table club, to get in top 4 is a big ask. It's like winning the Premier League or winning the Champions League, and it's like, are we going to be ready for that? And are people going to be willing to accept that, hey, we've dropped even lower than we actually think we are? Like, we are actually not a top 6 club. And so, we shouldn't be shooting necessarily for 4, but we just need to improve. But this bar is so low that you can't even say, like, we're in 15th place. How can you say, like, oh, we just need to finish better next year than we did this year? 15 is very, very low. So where do you set the bar for the club and for Amorim next season? Because I see arguments for both sides. Like, 3 out of the 4 last seasons, we've done particularly bad, and that's the consistency of how we're performing and how we're finishing. So to then go into next season and say, obviously we can't be in 15th, but then to be like, well, we need to finish 4th for sure. I don't know. It feels like a little bit, maybe too big of a jump for what is going on in Manchester United, because I don't know, you take a mid-table club and you tell them, well, next season you're going to go fight for top 4. Like, they're obviously going to struggle. It's going to be hard. They might be able to do it, but it's a big jump. It's not like you're going from 8th to 4th, or 6th to 4th, or 6th to 3rd, or something like that. You know, we all 15th. And you start next season and you say, well, now Ruben Amorim has to get us into top 4. And it's like, you know, you're asking the guy to jump us 11 spots. And the team before, and the year before that we finished 8th, and we dropped down eight spots. So you know, I don't know. This is one of these times where I just feel like I don't know what I don't know what I don't know what goal to set for the team and the manager, because I'm just so lost as to what we actually are. Like, what are we actually? Are we actually better than this? Maybe we're not top 4, but maybe we should be an 8th or something. Or are we actually this shit? You know, I don't know what to set for the manager for next season. It's like the first time. Like, usually I have a very good, clear picture. Like, we should be fighting for this. We should be in and around here. But I feel very lost just combining all of the other seasons and seeing where the club is finished and seeing how we're actually progressing instead of in improving. And it's like, well, we've clearly gone down levels. We've clearly gone down from where we were, where we already deemed wasn't good enough. So where do we set the bar for Ruben Amorim? What do we deem as a better job, a good job? What do we deem as progress for this guy? Because we have to give him something for next season. Rajat says FA Cup maybe if Mainu Ugarte is able to come back. Well, we got to wait and see what happens, because they haven't given us a timeline, so we don't know how much how long they're out for. We don't know how long Mainu and Ugarte is out for. Mainu could be out for weeks, and he could be out for months, according to Ruben Amorim. So it looks like Eriksson and Lindelof will probably leave Man United. Yes, and they should, as they should. They should go, and we need to replace them. Lion says if we finish above 18th, I'll generally be happy. I'm not trolling. But I think if we can kiss that Adidas money, goodbye. But I think we can kiss that Adidas money goodbye next year. Well, that's another problem that we have, right? As Dorgu plays more consistently left wing back, let's see how we go off there. Man United will have Ineos kit maybe. Richard says, provided we get players in, I think top 6 would be reasonable. Yeah. That's probably what we have to aim for anyway. Maybe so. I mean, obviously, like you mentioned, Richard, it's probably going to depend on how many players we get in, what kind of players we get in, how the squad's looking, how people are feeling at that time. You know, when it's closer to the start of the season, do we feel like the squad can compete? Do we feel like the squad is ready to go? You know, and kind of where we set the bar for Ruben Amorim and for the squad. But it's certainly become more difficult, because you know, I would accept this a 6 and up. I still think I still am concerned, because I'm just like, I don't know what we actually are anymore. Like, are we totally underperforming? Should we be higher? Many people argue that we deserve, you know, we are where we are because that's what we are. So if we're 15th team place, and we're saying next season you got to finish 6th, it's a big ask, big task, big job. And it's gonna be difficult. It ain't gonna be easy, and it's actually very easy to fail. So, you know, maybe it's something that we have to figure out later on when we get to the summer window and we see who we get and stuff like that. And just on the point that Rajat said that, you know, Man United will have Ineos kits maybe. Something that I was pointed out that we didn't realize is that we played Tottenham. We're at Spurs Stadium, and Spurs Stadium on their seats is sponsored by Ineos. And Ineos are paying Tottenham for that sponsorship. So our partial owners are paying another Premier League club, rival club, money that they're using to compete against us in the Premier League. Meanwhile, Ineos haven't thought to put their brand in Manchester United somewhere so that they can bring some money into the club to help us with transfers. Why? Why don't we have seat sponsors by Ineos and allow them to use their money to bring into the football club so they could use it for transfers? You know, it's mystifying. I don't understand it. Ineos sponsoring Spurs is disgraceful, says Richard. It is, and I understand that was done before they took it over, but the main point is like, why are they not doing things like that to help pull in money so that they can put in money legally so that we can use it, so that we're not struggling, so that it can help them to build the club? Like, you're still paying Spurs the money for the sponsorship, and they're using that money against us. And they're directly competing with us this season because we're both shit and we're both lower down the table. And it's like, you've been here for a year and you haven't come up with a plan to bring in some money one way or another, because there's ways to do it. You can sell. Chelsea sold hotels that they owned, and they were able to use that money to buy players. United can do things like that. Ineos can sponsor something. They can sponsor a kit. They can sponsor seats. They can sponsor the fucking stadium if they want. Something, anything. And they haven't done it. Which is, amazing. I don't really understand it. It doesn't make sense. So why? Because then they come out and they tell you they need to sack all these people and they can't donate to these charities anymore, and that we need to cut costs and we have to raise ticket prices. And it's like, you do understand that you do have a company that you can literally funnel money from your company into the club legally just by doing some bullshit sponsorship that you're actually doing with another Premier League team, and you're not doing it with us. And there's the optics of that as well. I'm sorry, but if I had a company and I was sponsoring another Premier League team and I end up taking partial ownership of Manchester United, even if it costs me money, I'm canceling the sponsorship with Tottenham. I'm not continuing the sponsorship of sponsoring them when I own another Premier League club. I would have canceled it. Yeah, it would have cost me money to break the contract, but it's a bad optic. It's bad PR. It's bad. It's bad public perception. It looks stupid. It just looks dumb. It looks foolish. So I would have cut it. They obviously don't want to do that. So I don't know, but I find it a little bit concerning that they haven't. These people are supposed to be business people. They're supposed to be all about the money and shit. And there's no way that they haven't come up. I mean, obviously their big one is the stadium, but you can still do things right now to help us out and relieve us of some of this PR shit that you keep telling us. If we do have Ineos shirt, would they actually pay? Just ask the All Blacks. Well, maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. I mean, listen, I don't know the full story on that. Obviously, sometimes things go wrong in deals. It's business. Things happen like this. Sometimes people rip people off. Sometimes people do a sponsorship deal and they don't feel like it's worth to pay the money and they refuse to pay the money. That's why business is sort of a dirty game. I'm sure they have an excuse and a reason as to why they didn't pay it, and I'm sure the All Blacks are like, well, we have a contract and you're obliged to pay it. So I don't know. I would hope they pay it at the very least, because it would bring in money. So it was on the billboards, the seats, everything. Yeah, I did, and that's what I'm saying. And I understand that was done before they actually acquired Manchester United. It's more of the point of just like, you can do a deal like that, and they understand that money that they're doing deals like that with those clubs, they understand that the clubs are using that money to use it for transfers and operations of the club. So it's like, you know that's a way of getting money into the club that the club isn't generating itself. You know that we're potentially going to lose a lot of money not being in Europe. So why wouldn't you use a business tactic like you do in every aspect, weasel your way and make some bullshit deal that is legal and totally fine, but on paper or in perception, it's quote unquote bullshit. right? And sponsor something at the club and funnel in a bunch of money. Like, why wouldn't you do that? You own United. You're concerned about the financials. There is a way to bring in money into the club to relieve this situation, and you've done nothing about it when you can do something about it. So, you know, Ineos' response to New Zealand rugby was yeah. I mean, I didn't read into it too much, but I just know it wasn't good. Let's jump to this stuff real quick though. Tyler Dibling was mentioned. He's been mentioned. I like him. He's a good player. I would want him. I think he has good qualities for the position. And as a player, and obviously Premier League proven already. And Southampton are saying that they will demand an excess of £50 million for Tyler Dibling this summer. Now, you know, that's another one. And all these players we seem to be linked with are at least 50 million, if not a little bit more, which is the question of how are we going to afford all these signings? And I think the answer is we're not, because I don't think we're going to be able to get all the signings that we're being linked to. And I don't know how much we're going to be able to do. This is why it's very confusing. And people are calling this out for what it is that it's spin. Every time we have negative result and negative things happen, we always get these news about transfers that are going to happen in the summer, and it's like kicking the can down the road. And it's to try and distract fans and be like, well, yeah, things are shit now, but they'll get better in the summer, because we're going to sign this player, and this player, and we'll be better next season. And then when we get to the summer, it's going to lead to disappointment. Then they'll spin us with something else. Then, you know, you know, it didn't happen in the summer, but we're looking for things in January. We get to January goes like this January, and then we look to the next summer, and it's just a constant cycle. I would like to get this player. Obviously, you know, whatever they quote, I want to pay less. I want to pay as less as possible. I want good deals. But I think he's a good player. I would welcome him there. I would welcome him in Manchester United. I think he has good qualities. He's young. Every time he's played against us, and I've seen him play other Premier League matches as well, but every time he's played against us, he's played very well. So, you know, Lion says get Dibling. 50 million seems to be the going rate. So pick one who we know and that can cope with the Premier League. Pick Mr. Dibling. Well, that is another thing that I wanted to say. Like, you know, it's good if we go get like a Quenda, Gyökeres, or Himland or something like that from Sporting, and we go get Osimhen from Napoli, or, you know, pull him out of the Turkish league. And those signings are all well, but I think something that Manchester United has to do as well is that we need to get some Premier League players as well. I know the difficult deals and they're hard deals to do because of financials, and the Premier League teams are all in very strong financial positions, and they're going to demand a lot of money, and there's an English tax and there's a rivalry tax, and sometimes it makes it more expensive. But other clubs have done it, and there's always, you know, a deal arises here and there. Maybe they're not always available, but I think what Manchester United also has to add to the squad building that we got to do is that we need to get some players like maybe a Tyler Dibling, who plays for Southampton, who looks very decently good, is already accustomed to the league, and we know what he's about, and he plays in the Premier League week in, week out. He knows all the teams. He's played against all of them. He's experienced in that degree. It's a little bit less of a risk. You know, we need to add that into our mixture, right? We were talking about a mixture before, young, some experience, but we need to add this into our mixture as well. You know, a lot of the teams do this as well. Like, you know, Brighton, Villa, Liverpool have done it. City have done it, especially when they started building. They were robbing players from teams left and right using their money, which helped them out, and helped them to build a core group of players and squad. And you know, so we do need to add that. Ray is here. Ray, how you doing? Hope everything is well. There's a Anthony tax, of course. If you can pay that for Anthony, well, yeah. But the thing is, I think the one thing that Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos have, I guess, when it comes to negotiations, is that they are going to try and hit us with that. Well, you paid this much for Anthony. The first thing I would tell them, if it was me and I walk into the room, is Be like, well, I didn't pay that for Anthony, and I wouldn't pay that for Anthony, and you're not dealing with a moron. Those people were morons, and we are not doing those transfer deals, and you are not going to rip us off. So either we can sit here and discuss a real price, and a fair price, or we'll go somewhere else. And I think they've been doing that. I think they've been, it's a hard job to do when you have a bad reputation. And people are looking to rip you off left and right. But it also comes with a bit of strength, because you can really walk into the negotiation tables and make a statement and be like, listen, I don't know what was going on before, but you're not dealing with the same dumbasses. I'm not like that. I know what I'm doing, and I know, I'm not a clown. I'm not a joker. This is serious business. Now, either we're gonna sit down at the table and we're gonna do some business, or you can carry on and continue to be a fool, and I'll go else. I'll go somewhere else. So you just got to play the cards right. They're obviously, clubs have been trying to do that. They've been trying to test Ineos since they came in. I think Ineos have handled that aspect well. It's probably the best thing that they've handled well so far, which is the transfer fees and the player salaries that we're paying, and kind of getting a fair price from the clubs that we're negotiating with. I don't think, in any opinion, we've gotten ripped off from any deal that Ineos has made. And I don't think the fees have been ridiculous. I don't think they've been bad fees. Maybe, for your liking or for your taste, maybe some of them are a little bit more than you would have liked. But when you compare it to what we've done in the past, there's certainly been better, and much more well-rounded. So, no morons anymore. Well, but yeah, that's how you kind of have to, like, listen, Ineos can still be incompetent, but what I'm saying is, like, they're going to test you. They've been testing them. They tried to test them with ridiculous fees and be like, let's see if we can still get away with it, like we got away with it with these other idiots. And you can set that tone very, very quickly. And you can make it abundantly clear when you walk in there and you set that tone and you tell them, I don't know who you dealt with in the past, but this ain't that. So you better straighten up and be serious, or go find money somewhere else, and we'll go get somebody else, and we'll give our money to somebody else. So I think that problem would still be around if we had the other people there, because it's like, well, you already did this deal, so they would have less power, less say. But when you have new people in charge, you can make a strong statement by saying, nope, this is a new era, this is a new way. We don't care what has done in the past. We are new people. We have a new idea, a new direction. And you can show some strength and some smartness about you, and then people will have to actually take you seriously and not take you as a clown and try and rip you off. So, but yeah, that was Tyler Dibbling and Victor Osimhen. Victor Osimhen, this is from the supposed tier 1 journalist from Turkey. I don't know nothing about this, but the aggregators have said that he is a tier 1 journalist from Turkey. Apparently he put this news out before the match yesterday, so it's not spin because of a bad result, according to the aggregators. And this update came out while our aggregators, reposted the news after the game, so many thought that it was spin because of the loss, but the actual journalist put it out before our match. And it said Manchester United and PSG have shown official interest in signing Victor Osimhen this summer, and both have made a verbal offer to him on contract and salary. Both teams have committed to paying his release clause. Ruben Amorim wants Osimhen. Now, I obviously will take Osimhen. He's an experienced striker, like we said. We need him. We need an experienced player like this. Him or Gyökeres. Either one. I will take, as long as we get one, because we need one. We need to take the pressure off of Rasmus and Xerxes, and we need somebody that has confidence, that's established, and that has a strong character, and sort of a strong mentality on the pitch. And I think he's one of them. And he knows his game. He's confident in his game. He scores goals. He's good at that. So yeah, let's see. But there was something that happened that I need to bring in here. The same account, the same aggregator account that was the first one to post this news last night, then made a post today about 30 minutes before we went live and put this post, and they wrote, because many people were calling it spin after a loss, and they were called out for this and being called out for pushing and promoting spin coming out of the club. So they responded by saying, in quotations, it's spin after a loss. And then they added their own 2 cents saying, no, it's not. They said the journalist is a tier 1 and the most reliable in Turkey. United haven't leaked this to a Turkey journalist, and most importantly, the news was reported before the game against Tottenham kicked off. Now, that's all good and well, but when I seen it on my timeline, I went to go click on it, and they then deleted this 30 minutes after they posted it. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if this was in an inaccurate statement that they made, so they took it down. I don't know if it was a lie and they were getting exposed as being fraudulent. But I have big concerns over our aggregator accounts. I think our aggregator accounts online are unfortunately compromised. I think they've been compromised by the club. I think they started off as regular aggregator accounts doing things as Manchester United fans, and they've grown quite big. They definitely make money. You know, not just by posts, but they probably, you know, some of them have stake, which is a betting company. They have stake advertisements all over their posts, so they're getting influence from outside. But knowing what I know about the Glazers now and what they did when they bought, when they had Tampa Bay Buccaneers when they bought them in the beginning, and the kind of PR moves that they did, going to the media and turning the media to run negative stories against the state to get what they want, I no longer I'm trusting our aggregators. I feel like our aggregators are compromised. I think that they are getting stuff that is pushed from the club, and I trust them a lot less. I think they are compromised. I think a lot of times they are, if it's not by the club, it's by a player's agent or a player's circle that are paying them to put out news, stats about them. This social media way, it's good because you can get a lot of information, but there's also a lot of rooms for a lot of backroom deals, and you don't know who's getting paid by what. And the more posts I see the aggregators putting, the more I see them, because it's a lot of individual aggregator accounts, and they should be reporting some news the same, but then they should also have some things different. But the way I see, for example, they're posting Marcus Rashford propaganda, and they're all doing it. And all of them are posting Marcus Rashford propaganda, where they're doing loan watches about Marcus Rashford, talking about he had this many touches, and he played this many minutes, and he looked this good. And I'm like, why are all the aggregator accounts posting the same shit about Marcus Rashford at the same time? It seems like it's not natural. It seems like it's being forced. Like they've gone to these aggregator accounts and they've paid the money to put these posts out. They're paying them for social media posts. So I'm very concerned about the aggregators, because a lot of people follow these aggregators. We get the news from these aggregators. We trust the aggregators to provide us, you know, credible news from credible journalists. And if it's being influenced by the Glazers, by the club, to run PR, and they're sending this to the journalists, and the aggregators are quoting the journalists, then the whole system is corrupt, and we're getting tricked. We are getting tricked into PR. We're getting tricked into false news, into propaganda. So I think it started off in a decent place, but it seems like it has been compromised. So I'm a little bit worried. I'm a little bit worried about our aggregators here, because they're doing some weird, funny things that I don't necessarily like, and I don't think that they should be doing. So this, them putting out this statement, this is not an aggregator thing to do. An aggregator is supposed to compile news from journalists like Ben Jacobs, like Samuel Luckhurst, etc., David Ornstein. You get that news and you repost it for Manchester United fans. because they don't just post Manchester United news. They post multiple news. But anytime they talk about Manchester United news, they go, they pick it up, they give the journalist credit, and they post it for Manchester United fans. But when they come out and they start putting their opinions on, and not just giving us news and telling and basically coming out and saying that, you know, this journalist is credible and that this isn't spin and it's not coming from the club, and then they delete this post 30 minutes after they posted it, without an explanation as to why. You know, it's not like they followed up and said, well, we deleted that post because some of the information was inaccurate and it wasn't the right thing for us to put out, so we deleted it. They don't give you an explanation. They put it out, they thought it was something good, and then for whatever reason they deemed it bad and they took it off to save their own ass, to save their own image. So I'm losing trust in them, and I'm very skeptical of them. So we just got to keep our eye out on them, because I do feel like the whole system, the whole thing is very compromised, and it's not organic. It's very propagandish. Ray says, what I don't understand, we change everyone. The only player still in the team is Bruno Delot and Casemiro. Yeah, but we talked about this earlier in the show, Ray. You weren't here, but we talked about how Manchester United need to stop doing bad recruitment. You know, it's not about just changing people. You know, you can change things, but if the changes are bad, then it's just going to be bad. Like it doesn't necessarily mean, like, just because we changed a bunch of players, that it's automatically going to go good. You have to get it right. So you can change players. Like, we have this squad. We can totally rip the squad up. We can get another 22 players and put them in there. But if they're not the right players, if they're not the proper players, if they don't fit the system, if they're not good enough for the Premier League, if they don't have a good character, if they don't have a good attitude, if they don't have a good skill set, then it's just going to be just as bad or maybe worse. So it's not just about changing. Change is needed, but you need to make sure you get the changes right, and it has to follow a direction, an idea, a project, a philosophy, a way of playing. And then, you know, that it's not easy to build the squad. Like, there's so many factors. You need players that complement each other. They have to complement the system. The system has to complement them. It also has to complement the manager. They have to get on with the manager. You know, then they have to have all those things that I just mentioned, like good attitude and mentality and ability and good work rate and, you know, strong character, to have a really good team. And when you're in a position like we are, where we are struggling and we need a lot of that in a lot of positions, it's very hard, because you have to do it step by step. Then you have the problem of, even if you get one or two of those players, you still have more bad than good. And it's almost like a cancer where, like, the bad ends up spreading to the good and it consumes the good, and the good turns to bad. And then we went from having a couple good and mostly bad to now we have even less good and more bad because it just consumed them. So I don't know. I don't know how you do it. It's obviously systematically, but yeah, we just need to make sure that the recruitment is good. And I think Ineos have done an okay job with that so far. Obviously January we wanted more, but in terms of who we signed so far under them, how much we signed them for, what wages we give them, and in terms of their age, ability, and etc., I think it's all been good signings compared to what we've done in the past. So I think if we continue at least this route, we'll be heading in a better direction, and then maybe we can get some positive stuff out of that. So Lion says, I don't understand. Thank F I stay clear of all that social media crap. Richard says I'll speak to Elon and get it taken down. And Lion says to stay hydrated. It's vodka. It's definitely not vodka. I wouldn't be able to drink it like that. If Felix saying how would take Sancho rant to the next level. Oh yeah, with the vodka. Well, we have another Sancho rant coming up soon. Maybe not necessarily a rant, but more of a point. But Chad obviously left us because he hasn't said something in quite some time. And I was hoping he was going to stick around because I was going to stick it to him today about Sancho. But one other update that we got to get to, or two other updates before we get to that, is that apparently Casemiro will not leave. He is apparently refusing to leave. He doesn't want to leave. He keeps putting out statements about he wants to stay. And, you know, people getting very angry at him, calling him mercenary or disgraceful, and that he should leave. And he's had this to say. He said, above all, he said, I respect Manchester United, a club to which I am very grateful. I have a year and a half left on my contract, and I'd like to fulfill it here in Manchester. I'm comfortable here, and so is my family. They've adapted. We speak English. I'm very grateful to the Old Trafford fans and to the club, and I'm happy at club level. Yeah, so I'm not particularly happy about that because I don't want you here anymore, Casemiro. I'm sorry. It's not personal. You had a fantastic career and you're a very good player. But we can't have a bench player that can't run on 350,000 a week at Manchester United. We literally can't have you here. If you want to stay here, maybe how about we I would go to him and say, all right, you want to stay here for a year and a half? How about we renegotiate your contract? We'll extend it to 2 years. So you have 2 years instead of 1.5 years. And how about we take your 350 a week wage and we give you 150 week wage? And I would like to see his response, because I'm sure it would be absolutely not, and he wouldn't agree to that. And then I'd be like, well, then you need to leave. And now we have a problem with the standoff of a player that can absolutely refuse to leave. He doesn't need to. He doesn't need to go. He's at the end of his career. He may not care if he even plays another match, but one thing that's in his corner is that he's getting paid 350,000 a week, and he's at the end of his career. He's going to get nowhere near that money wherever he goes. He knows that, and maybe one of the things that he's also saying is that I have a year and a half left on my contract, and after my contract is done as Manchester United, I'm just going to retire. So maybe he doesn't want to go to a new country, move, take his family there, and do that whole process all over again, because maybe he's thinking about retiring fairly soon. Which I get, but you know, at the same time, I'm worried about my club, and my club cannot have a bench player that cannot run around, and cannot keep up with the pace of the league, getting paid 350,000 a week. It is a waste of money, and you are a waste of a position for us. You are not helping us, so you need to go. And we find ourselves in this position. So it's a bit mercenary. And it's unfortunate because I like Casemiro and I don't want to call him mercenary. I understand his viewpoint, but I'm more obviously concerned about the point of the club, and he has to go. You know, I don't care if he gets on his knees and starts crying and begs for us to keep him here. Like, you have to go. You are not what we need, and you are far too expensive. Like, you are not cost effective for us in any way, and you need to get out of this club. We cannot hold you here anymore. You should not be on this wage, and you are getting older, and your game is going down as the days go on. So you need to go. Lyle says, why would he leave? He is the highest paid player at the club. Money is good. Well, exactly. That's one of the things. Like, from his viewpoint, he doesn't need to leave. He's not going to get this money. He's the highest paid player. He's not going to get anywhere close to this money, and he's at the end of his career, so he might not care. You know, he's accomplished everything. He's won everything. He's chilling right now. And, you know, sometimes when footballers get to this age, like Cristiano, for example, you could tell Cristiano, a part of him, Cristiano is trying to fight Father Time. Cristiano is a player that he doesn't want to retire. Cristiano would play till he was 70 if he could, because he loves to play and he wants to play. At some point, he's going to have to accept that he has to retire. But Cristiano is trying his utmost best to keep playing, and he knows that he's getting older, and he knows that maybe he can't do what he was once doing in Europe, and maybe that's why he's in the Saudi league, but he can still play, and he wants to play, and he knows that his time is short. So he's going to go to places where he can perform, where he can play, because there's not a lot of time left. Plus, also, he's getting paid an exceptional amount of money that no one's ever seen before. That's also an added bonus on top of it. But even people like Messi's gone to the MLS. Messi knows there's not a lot of time left, but Messi can still play in the MLS, and he's going to go to a place where he's going to play. Yeah, it's lower down. And sure, he's getting paid a lot of money too, but you know, some players, when they get to the end of their career, they get this itch of like, I don't have a lot of time left. I want to play as much football as possible because it's coming to an end soon and I'm never going to be able to do this again. So they just want to play. And some people get to the end of their careers and they go, I've accomplished everything in football. I've won it all. I was a fantastic player. I'm at the end. I don't really care if I play too much or not. Let me just secure this bag that I have because I'm not going to get this money from playing anymore because I'm going to have to retire and then I'm going to have to go do something else, which most of them don't really have anything else to do. If they don't know how to invest money, if they don't have any other skills, if they don't have any other passions, then they have to try and find a job somewhere in football, whether you become a manager, a coach, a pundit, something, because a lot of them don't have any other skills outside of football. So they're limited in what they can do. Also, they probably don't want to, you know, they live a certain life. They're not going to go and you know, they're not going to own, I don't know, they're not going to open a food place or something. It's very unusual. Some of them do, but most of them don't. So, you know, why would he go? I understand it from his viewpoint, but from my viewpoint as a fan and worrying about the club, he has to go. And somehow we have to make him go. I don't know how you do it because we can't necessarily force him because he's on a contract and he has every right to say that I don't want to leave and I'm staying here. I don't know how you do it, but it's a big issue. He is our top earner, and removing his wage from our wage bill will reduce the wage bill by a significant amount. You're talking about like him alone is like 25% of the wage bill per year. So it's a lot. And it means a lot. And especially for Manchester United right now in the position that we're in, it means a lot. So, you know, I don't know. This is potentially going to be a big issue in the summer. And it may not go particularly well for him. No, he may find himself in a bad spot because I'm sure that, you know, if we try to move him on and he refuses all the transfers and he sticks around, even if he ends up on the bench somewhere, I would assume that he's going to get booed and he's going to get abused online and stuff like that. So, you know, maybe he has to think about that as well. I don't know, but hopefully he gets sorted because if he refuses to leave, it's a big issue. It's a big problem, and it's only gonna hurt us. Line says, "Who's that Japanese player who played till he was 55 or something?" I don't even know, but I did hear about that. Oh, Richard said it's Kazuyoshi Miura played to 57. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. Didn't Rooney want to be a surgeon if he wasn't a footballer? No, I think it was a boxer. Definitely not a surgeon. I don't think Rooney. I think if Rooney was anywhere. Listen, I tell you what. If they sent me into the hospital and I need an emergency surgery and I see Wayne Rooney there with some gloves and one of those masks, I'd be like, listen, just give me the little injection thing and just put me out because I was like, I don't know what Wayne's about to do to me here, but I'm not gonna trust that for sure. No, I think he was definitely into boxing and he wanted to be a boxer at one point, but he became a footballer, and thank God he did because he was one of our best players ever, and one of my favorites of all time as well. He's still playing. The guy is still playing. There's no way. Who does he play for? He's on loan at Atletico Suzuka. Made 11 appearances. That's insane. That's crazy. That's somebody that. That's somebody that's. That's somebody that. I mean, he's getting to the age close to retirement anyway of like normal people, right? I mean, he's 57 or whatever. Maybe he's older. He's getting close to regular working people retirement age anyway. So maybe that's what he's shooting for. But that's crazy. You have to be in such good shape to even be able to make 11 appearances and play football at that age. That's nuts. That's nuts. I want to see a picture of this guy. I'll see what he looks like. But jump into the next story because we gotta wrap this up. There was a thing about Cancelo. Apparently, Manchester United are interested in signing João Cancelo in the summer. The player has been informed about United's interest. Amorim will have the final say. So Portugal FC now being linked. No more Dutch players. Dutch players are no longer allowed at Manchester United. It is now time for Portugal FC to come and stake their claim at Manchester United, apparently, because this is what happens. We get a manager of a certain nationality, and all of a sudden, we get started getting linked to every player that has the same shared nationality. I don't know if there's any real substance to this. I don't even know who that source is. Never heard of them, never seen them. I'll take this one with a light grain of salt. The guy is playing in the Saudi league. I'm sure he's happy with the money. He seems pretty much done and dusted. I probably wouldn't take him. Like Ray said earlier in the show, the move would obviously be for Frimpong. You get somebody like Frimpong. You don't get somebody like João Cancelo. João Cancelo doesn't really fit our... João Cancelo doesn't fit what we've been looking and bringing in anyway. He's not young. He's towards the end of his career. Sure, he's experienced, but I think he's too old. I think where the experience will fit into Ineos's thing is anybody that's like 24, 25, 26, maybe 27. 27 might be pushing it in their eyes because they like fairly young. They go fairly young, 21, 22, 19, 18, and then much younger than that. So I don't think he necessarily fits what Ineos is looking for. Apparently, Amorim will have the final say. So I don't know, but I think Amorim would probably go for somebody else. Anyway, I don't think I would take this one with the light grain of salt. We probably won't even hear about it after this. And if we do, then maybe it means that it's a bit more serious. But this seems like a very one-off thing from a source that I can't even give you a tier, but I could tell you that they're definitely not a tier 1. And I would probably say they're probably not even a tier 2. Never heard of them, never seen them before. So, you know, we gotta take it with a light grain of salt. Richard said, I used to be a boxer. I used to box eggs for the Standard Egg Company. Well, that's a different type of boxer there. Were you boxing eggs on Boxing Day? That'd be a good one. Tell him I'm boxing eggs on Boxing Day. Can't get any more boxing than that. Even though I know Boxing Day is a holiday, so you wouldn't be boxing eggs on Boxing Day, but it would be good though. Yeah. And then Sancho, this one's for Chad. When Chad, if Chad ever comes back, or if Chad wants to view this later, but Chad didn't want to believe me yesterday when I said Jadon Sancho is dog shit, and that Chelsea fans are literally asking for them to tank the season so they don't have to pay us 25 million. And so I figured I'd bring in Chelsea legend John Obi Mikel, who almost went to Manchester United at one point, but Chelsea legend John Obi Mikel has come out today and said as follows: Jadon Sancho came in and deceived us, Chelsea, with a couple of games. And we thought, fucking hell, we are getting the Sancho from Dortmund, but he's gone again, and I don't know what happened to him, but he has disappeared off the grid. That sounds so familiar. I think he did this in a red shirt when we got him from a yellow shirt, and we're like, holy shit, we're getting a brilliant player. He gave us some games, and he's completely disappeared off the grid. and then he disrespected our club, and then he's gone to Chelsea, and he did the same thing there, where he did a couple good games, and then he's disappeared off the grid, maybe because he's fighting for freedom. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure. You know, is that a real photo? So the photo is real of him actually doing that, but obviously the freedom fighter part is photoshopped. His name, it had Sancho across of it. Somebody photoshopped it after he came out with his freedom quote under Marcus Rashford's Instagram, and they photoshopped that. But it's a fantastic picture. I absolutely love it. And it's great. I'm glad somebody photoshopped it. It just fits so well. It fits so well, and we could use it at any time. So, it's typical Sancho. He didn't really pose like that. No, he posed like that. He did pose like that. He absolutely did. When they gave him the kit, it says Sancho on it. The original picture is there somewhere. It says Sancho, and he posed like that. But they just removed Sancho and they put Freedom Fighter. I had my own version of it at one point where it was right after he did that, and then he made some disparaging comments, kind of taking shots at Manchester United while trying to hype up Chelsea. And what I did was I photoshopped a giant rat right where the number is. So it was just Sancho and then a picture of an ugly rat right under it, which I thought was fitting considering that he continues to take shots at my club. You know, if he wants to be quiet and he wants to go away, we won't speak on him ever again, and that's fine by me because I don't want to. But if you want to keep opening your mouth, then we can continue this little petty war that we got going on, because I don't stand for that. I'm not going to bother you if you don't bother me, but if you start bothering me, then I'm going to bother the shit out of you. So, yes. Sancho's the biggest fraud in this game. What a lemon. What a lemon. Yes, he is a lemon because he's extremely sour. It's extremely sour. Absolute lemon. Absolute lemon. But I just thought it was funny because we had this whole big discussion about it, and Chad was disagreeing with me. And I don't think he necessarily believed me when I said that Chelsea fans are literally going on social media begging the club to tank their season, and so they don't have to pay United 25 million. And then you have John Obi Mikel, who is a legend of Chelsea, comes out the very next day and literally says the things that essentially what I said. Well, like, you know, he obviously didn't say Jadon Sancho is dog shit outright, but I mean, if you read that statement, it translates to, he thought we were getting Dortmund Sancho, and he's dog shit. So, Chelsea is going to loan him out to Dortmund rather than us. Yeah, I would actually, you know what I can see happening, which will be absolutely ironic. And I love irony. I think it's hilarious. I find irony absolutely hilarious. I can see Chelsea are going to finish where Chelsea are going to finish. They're not going to tank the season, obviously, as much as fans might want them to. They're not going to do it. They're going to pay the 25 million. And then when they get to the summer, I can see Chelsea being like, yeah, you out. We just paid 25 million for you, but we're going to loan you to somewhere else because we don't even want you here. And I will laugh because I will feel justified. Because I do feel strongly that I am correct about my my understanding and my conclusion of Jadon Sancho. So I can definitely see that happening, that Chelsea end up paying this 25 million, and then in the summer, because it's a Chelsea it's kind of like a crazy Chelsea thing to do, where they would pay the 25 million. They'd be like, yo, forget this guy. He's ass. Get him out and just loan him somewhere, and maybe it'll be to Dortmund or maybe it'll be somewhere else. But they like, Chelsea will do that. Chelsea is the type of club where they will be like, yeah, we fucked up paying 25 million for this guy, but what we won't do is we're not going to keep you here. Like, go somewhere else. Bye. We'll loan you out. We're not going to be able to sell you, but we'll loan you out for sure. So Real Betis would be a good option. Yeah, we could just turn Real Betis into Manchester United 2.0. And we could just send all of these former players there. Casemiro, you can go there as well. Go back to Spain. Um, I'm sure you like Spain. You could go play for Real Betis. Um, Anthony's there, your fellow Brazilian, so you could go there. Sancho might go there as well. We could send Rashford over there to you as well. I don't know how they're gonna pay for all of this, but we'll figure it out. We'll make a deal somehow. You pay us over the next 10 years. I don't know. Lukaku 2.0 for Chelsea. Yeah, Lukaku. What a signing that was. That was another one, man. Bad piece of signing. Bad piece of signing for us. Why did we do that deal? Marwan Fellaini. Why? I hated Marwan Fellaini so much. And again, it wasn't like a personal thing. It's not like I was like, Marwan Fellaini is a bad person. He should be thrown in jail. I just hated him because I hated what the transfer signified. I didn't deem him. Number one, we couldn't get in a transfer, and it was embarrassing that we ended up with just Fellaini. And then you look at Fellaini as a profile of player, and it's like, Fellaini is not a Manchester United player. Fellaini would have never been signed under Sir Alex, and this was right after Sir Alex. And I was just like, we signed bloody Fellaini, and like only Fellaini. And like I hated what it wasn't about Fellaini himself. It was about what he represented, and like I couldn't stand him. And while he was very important for us, and he did well, and I agree with you guys. And I'm not trying to like disrespect him in terms of as a player. And he scored some important goals for us. He helped us along the way. I understand that. I'm not trying to take that away from him. I'm just saying like he was never my type of player. He wasn't that type of player that I like. And then it was just more of like what his transfer represented. That made me, I couldn't stand him. It was just like, I don't want to see this player at this club because I just don't agree with it in terms of Manchester United standard. So, unless it's not, put some respect on Fellaini's name. Listen, he did go for us. I give him that. He did like for what it was. There were some moments where it wasn't great, but he scored some important goals for us. He saved our ass multiple times. I give him all that credit, and that's fine. My thing just was like, I was just like, I had a certain idea of what a Manchester United player is, and I was like, if I was in charge, I would have never signed that player because I just don't think he fitted the mold of a Manchester United player. And regardless of what he did after, whatever, I'm not taking any of that away from him. But it was just like, there was just times I was like, I just couldn't stand the fact that we got him because there was times where he was bad. And we started getting bantered for it. And I'm like, see, this is what happens. Like, we went from Fergie, we got David Moyes, we couldn't sign a player. We got Fellaini. People are bantering us for Fellaini now. I was like, this guy is awkward, he moves weird. But then he kind of redeemed himself because he was scoring some important goals. So, lovely hair, as Richard said. Yeah, I mean, he had the hair. The tree was special, certainly. So, yeah. Listen, in terms of players, like, it's not like I hate him or anything. Like Sancho, I very much dislike. Sancho is way below Marwan Fellaini. You know what I mean? There's other players like Alexis Sanchez, way below Marwan Fellaini. There's so many players that we had that are, I despise them. I regret, even though I had nothing to do with it, but I regret that the club even signed them. I regret that their name is even attached with ours. He's not necessarily one. It was just more of a in the moment type of thing at the time type of thing. Right after Fergie, I was like, this isn't the sort of thing that we needed. Like, we just lost Sir Alex Ferguson. We needed to show some strength. We needed to show like we're not about to just lose everything we just built over the last 20 years. And we ended up with just David Moyes and Fellaini. And I'm like, that doesn't encourage me. You know what I mean? Yeah, Di Maria, Alexis Sanchez, like those players are the worst of the worst. Those are the people I can't stand. I got no respect for. Fellaini might have not been my cup of tea as a player, but I respect him because he tried and he did things for the club. Like, he played with heart, he tried, he did some important things, he scored some goals for us, he saved our ass in some competitions, you know what I mean? So he might not be a player that I consider like that fits in the category of my favorite players, of like ability, skill, body type, and stuff like that, but I respect the guy because he came there and he played for Manchester United and he gave his all. But then you have players like Di Maria. You have players like Di Maria. You have players like Alexis Sanchez. You have, you know, these mercenary assholes that have come to Manchester United that were complete embarrassments, that were very, very bad signings for the club. And they've disrespected the club. Sancho, you know, these guys, they're unredeemable, in my opinion. The way they acted, for the things that they've said, and you know, never again. So, yeah, Ray says Babel. I think he meant Bebe, because Babel played for Liverpool. Ryan Babel. I think he meant Bebe. But Bebe, listen, Bebe was Bebe. Yeah, Ryan Babel, that guy was the best super sub after OGs. Yeah, I mean, he was their super sub at Liverpool, and always dyeing his hair different colors. You know, one day he'd pop up with blonde, and you'd be like, what's going on here? And then I think he had some snow cone thing going on his head where it was like, it was blonde and pink. And yeah, and it was very fast. He had speed. Good dribbler of the ball. Thankfully, he wasn't like the best at finishing, because it would have been a big problem. But yeah, Bebe. Yeah, Bebe was bad, but you know, Bebe, listen, but Bebe is a different aspect, right? Bebe is somebody that was signed that nobody knew anything about. I think Ferguson watched like a 30-second clip of him, or he didn't even watch it. He took Kerosh's word for it. You know, we signed him next to nothing, and he was nothing. You know what I mean? He just amounted to nothing. He was nothing. But these other players, right? Like Fellaini, we signed for a significant amount of money. Sancho, we signed for a significant amount of money. Alexis Sanchez, we paid him a fucking shit ton of money. And Angel Di Maria, you know, another one. And these players are ones that we paid either a lot of money for them, or we paid them a lot of money, or both. And then they disrespected the club. And that's where I separate Fellaini from the rest of them. Because I'm like, all right, he might not be my cup of tea, but you know what? He gave his all, and he did some things for us that were good, so I can respect him on that level. And he never disrespected the club. So, you know, I have respect for him because he has respect for us. But the other ones, they came, they did bad, and they disrespected us. So, you know, Obertan is another one. But these are players like, listen, they're hit and miss. You're going to have players like an Obertan and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And it is what it is. Like, yeah, they're not going to work out, but they didn't disrespect the club. They're not a Manchester United player. It is what it is. You move on. You forget about them. They go into the past. They go into oblivion, and you bring them up every once in a while. So, but that was another one. You know, they tried to give us Obertan to replace Cristiano, and we were like, really? Obertan and Januzaj were supposed to be replacements for Cristiano Ronaldo, and we're like, bruv, Obertan is like, he's like 23, and the man's is already bald, and you're telling me he's going to replace Cristiano Ronaldo? You know, he tried to give us that Henry effect as well. You know, he came out there with the baldness, with the black gloves, in winter, with the long sleeves, trying to look threatening. It just never happened. It just never amounted to anything. And I think that was the first time we really, that period was the first time we started really experiencing Glazerisms. Because we sold Ronaldo for that amount of money, and Ferguson came with this famous line of "there's no value in the market," and everybody's like, "Okay, Fergie, like, we trust your word on that, but like, we just lost Cristiano Ronaldo, and we need a replacement for him." And the Glazers were like, "Yeah, that 80 million, you're never gonna see it again because we put it in our bank account, and we'll give you Michael Owen, some kid named John Azine Oberton, and that's 3 players for 1. So you guys should be good, right? You'll be able to handle it. Don't worry about it. And we'll give Michael Owen the number 7 shirt because he's English and great striker. He played for Real Madrid. Yeah, give him the number 7. We'll be all right. We'll be all right. We're just gonna put this little 80 million in our bank account. And we'll see you next year. Yeah, and that's how that went. And that for me was the first time where I kind of for being that age, maybe I was like 14 or something. I don't remember how old I was at that time. Somewhere around there. That's the first time I can really identify where it was Lasernomics 101 because I was absolutely furious. Obviously I was like, Ronaldo's our best player. He's I already deemed him as best player in the world at the time, whether he was or he wasn't. I already said he was the best player in the world, and I was like, we just lost the best player in the world, and we pocketed 80 million, and I'm expecting to go sign. I had big aspirations for Manchester United, and I'm expecting to go sign another superstar, somebody that's gonna fill that gap, and they never did it. And I'm like, these fucking assholes just took the 80 million and they gave us overtime. And I'm like, well, what are we going to do with that? And everybody knew it was never going to work. But Lion says, Nick Powell. Paddy McNair is still playing. I forgot about him yesterday. I was playing Football Manager, and he popped up on my screen. And I think I'm like 2-3 years in from where we are now. And I believe you said that it was like 32, 33 years old. And I was like, I've totally forgot. I was like, first of all, the fact that Paddy McNair is about 30 years old made me feel old. And I was losing my mind because I'm like, this guy's still playing. I was like, I haven't heard a peep of him since he left Manchester United. And I'm like, what the hell? Yeah, I was like, I remember when he was supposed to be the next big thing at Manchester United. And he was playing for Northern Ireland last year. Yeah, Paddy McNair. I forgot about him until yesterday when he popped up on my Football Manager. I was like, holy shit. I was like, he's still playing. And I seen his age, and I was like, holy shit, he's that old? I was like, now I feel old. I was like, I remember him being like 18 or 19. And that's the last thing I remember about him. I never heard about him since or seen him since. And I'm like, he's 30. I'm like, where's the time gone? Here in South Africa, we have a comedian that ends all his reels. All his reels says "fuck my clone." Wait, what? That's so random. What the heck? Probably funny, but it's just made his debut with Buntner. Oh yeah, we have Buntner too. All these players, man. You forget about these players. Kagawa was honestly my favorite United player for a bit. Yeah, I wish it didn't work out for him either. I wish it did because I liked him at Dortmund and I thought he could be a very good player for United, but it just didn't go very good. And this is the thing. I actually think this is a good discussion because it highlights how when we were successful, look at the list of players that we can, you can make 2 teams out of the list of players that we bring that never worked out, that never reached the heights, right? So it's not about being perfect when it comes to recruitment. But those deals with those players, they were, when we bring them in, they were good deals in terms of like, you take a risk, sure, but they didn't work out. And what did we do? We moved them on and we moved forward and we got some other players. At some period in point after Ferguson, obviously we stopped doing that, and it started being all about commercialism and inflating the price of the club, and that went wrong when it comes to football because we then can't move players on. Casemiro's only here because he's on 350,000 a week. If he wasn't on 350,000 a week, we might have been able to move him on last summer, maybe in January, maybe even the year before. But nobody wants him because of his age and the wage. We used to have all these types of players. They never made it. Ferguson wasn't as much of a genius as he was. There were so many players that bring in that were considered failures. They never hit the height. But they were never issues. They were never problems because he didn't overspend. He took risks, but they were manageable risks. And if they failed, he was able to move them on, and you can go and get somebody else. And we don't do that anymore. And we need to get back to doing that. Dylan Oliphant, he is a United fan, and when he speaks about United, previews, recaps, etc., he has that ending to his reels. Well, maybe I should start doing that with some other players. Richard says I would tell you a better one than that. When I seen Clouvier on the team sheet, I thought it was Patrick Kluivert. I thought, God, he must be in his 40s. Yeah, his son. His son. Wilson, another sad story. Injuries, man. Yeah, it happens a lot. Let me check the news to see if we got any news. Any news? Where is the news? See. All right. Well, here we go. There's an article saying Manchester United plot a move for the next Erling Haaland. Probably some clickbait bullshit, but we'll open it up and check it out and see what that's about. Have we gotten anything of significance? Anything of importance at all? Anywhere? Anything at all? It doesn't look like it. It looks like a very slow day. 1 hour ago from... 1 hour ago from... Is this the same Turkish journalist that... It is a Turkish journalist. I don't know if it's the same. Let me see. Let me pull up the, Wallaby. Give me that Osimhen source. No, different. It's a different Turkish journalist. Turkish journalist 1 hour ago coming out and saying that, now I've lost it. Hold on. Gotta go back and find it again. Oh, 1 hour ago, different Turkish journalist, don't know how credible he is, but saying Manchester United reached an agreement with Napoli in January to sign Victor Osimhen, but the player said he vowed to stay at Galatasaray until the end of the season. Interesting. And apparently apparently there's a quote that is from Osimhen, said, "I promised to stay at Galatasaray until the summer after I finished the season." So interesting. Does that mean that we were actually going to bring in Victor Osimhen in January, but he refused to go because he, keeping true to his word to Galatasaray, saying that he was going to stay till the summer. Which, you know what? For the problems that he had at Napoli with the concerns with him fighting with the president, you know what? It's not actually a bad look. Obviously, you'd be a little pissed and be like, well, why the fuck didn't you just come? Because we need you. But at the same time, I can respect somebody that, gives somebody their word and then keeps to it. So maybe, if that's true, might be a good little indication. And maybe, that negativity of that in-house fighting between him and the president of Napoli isn't all on him, which means that maybe he doesn't have necessarily a bad character or a bad attitude and stuff like that. And maybe, he was being kind of fair to himself, which is good. It's encouraging. Fabrizio Romano apparently spoke on Manchester United's plan for the summer transfer window. And Fabrizio said that I can guarantee that in the summer, the idea is to do many things to cover several positions is what Fabrizio has said. And Mark Goldbridge has astonishingly called this out as PR. So I don't know what that's about, but this is what I'm reading. He's called out the aggregator account. He's called out the aggregator account that posted this, and he's called out Fabrizio and calling it PR, which it might very well be. Listen, Fabrizio might be a little bit compromised as well. Fabrizio, he's been doing these social media posts where he posts players, like after matches, he'll post players' stats, and it's like kind of a little PR piece about the player, and bigging them up. And he used to not do that, right? And he does them now. And the belief behind that is that he's getting paid to do those tweets, which is fine if you want to get paid. But When that happens, then you're open to getting paid there. Why wouldn't you get paid by Manchester United to put out a piece of news from Fabrizio Romano? And this is where the problem comes with the social media thing, because you can just contact somebody and do a kind of a deal under the table and be like, listen, we will give you money, put out posts about Manchester United, about transfer news. It comes from Fabrizio Romano. It seems independent because it's Fabrizio Romano, right? It's not a network. It's not a paper. It's not it's not a newspaper company or something like that. It's a journalist. It's Fabrizio Romano, and people follow Romano. They deem him as credible. They rely on him and they trust him. So instead of Manchester United, running a story to the Sun that nobody listens to, well, we'll just pay Fabrizio money and we'll have him run the stories for us, and people will deem it more truthful because it's coming from Fabrizio instead of the Sun, or instead of the Independent or the Mirror or something like that. And this is the danger that I'm talking about. I do believe that knowing what I know about the Glazers now, what they did to when they got the Buccaneers, and how they infiltrated the news, the media, and they got them to go on their side and got them to go against the state itself, the city itself, and run a smear campaign on them to get what they want, and they were successful in doing so. I'm very, very concerned because I don't trust the Glazers. It's not about these individual people. It's not about Fabrizio Soli. It's not about these aggregator accounts. I just don't trust the Glazers, and I feel like it's something that they would do because they don't like to be in the news. They don't want to make public statements in the news, but they like to control the news. They like to be in charge of it. They like to have a hand in it, but they do it from the background, and they don't want to be on camera. They don't want to be making quotes. They don't want stories about them. But what they do like to do is control the narrative. And you control the narrative nowadays, especially from social media, because you can go to each of these individuals and you can pay them money to make posts, and they will take that money, because at the end of the day, these are just people trying to make some money and live life. So yeah, it is the lines are certainly getting blurred. For sure. And there's no real other news, so slow day for Manchester United. Slow day. No one needs Haaland. Oh, you just reminded me. All right. Let me look at this bullshit article. I would say, since last summer, Manchester United had been firmly linked with Norwegian youngster Sverre Halseth Napan. So it's about Napan, who I really want and I think is a good player, and I would love nothing more than to get him. But I don't know why he's being coined as the next Erling Haaland, considering that he plays midfield and Erling Haaland is a striker. They then go on in the article to say the 18-year-old midfielder has been labeled as the next Martin Odegaard, drawing significant attention from Europe's elite. So you write an article. This is the problem I have with some of these aggregators as well. You write the article in the headline as Manchester United plot move for the next Erling Haaland. You then, 2 sentences into the article, you say he's Norwegian, and then you say he's a midfielder and has been labeled the next Martin Odegaard. Why did you not headline the article saying Manchester United plot move for the next Martin Odegaard and not Erling Haaland, considering that Haaland is a striker and Napan is not a striker? And this is the thing I hate, like, and shame on this aggregator account because they have their own website and they're trying to get clicks and views, and I don't respect this. I'm going to stop using this aggregator account. They're the same one that has stake, the stake betting companies posted on all their pictures, and it's illegal because they don't own the pictures. They put a stake promo on pictures that they don't own, and they make money off of it. So this person, or this significant aggregator, in my opinion, is one of the more that are more likely to be a sellout. So I'm going to stop using them. I am. I'm not going to use them anymore. Yeah, so it's about Napan. There's not much info in it. Their articles are usually shit. I click on them every once in a while to see if they put anything of interest or subject, but it's always just clickbait and it's always just bullshit. So, yeah, we're gonna stop using. That. And if you want to know what I'm talking about, because if you do use Twitter, it's Centre Devils. Centre Devils account. That's who I'm calling out. Yeah, I don't like what they're doing. So, Fabrizio is usually good though. Yes, he is. And I'm not saying that he's not. It's just the fact that it's a possibility that this can essentially be compromised. It's a little bit of the blurring of the lines. They can. I'm not saying that he's not good with his transfer news. Because I think those are two types of separate things. But it's also just sometimes he can be putting out news that comes from the club that the club can pay him to put out. Or it could be just a source that he has, but it could come from the club. We don't know because they're obviously not going to tell us. And then also he does put out these kind of things about players where he puts like these player stats and it's a little PR piece about the player playing so good. And I assume that those come from player agents and they use Fabrizio Romano because Fabrizio Romano is very followed and very respected. And they get Fabrizio Romano to put out a little piece about their player to garner up transfer interest. Because what better than to give, you know, a post for your player that you're looking to maybe possibly get a move for than the transfer king himself. And then the transfer king himself is putting out, well, this player is performing very, very good in Europe. So there's that aspect. It was crazy. He posted pictures with the shirt and everything, waiting for hours to sign his contract and up at United. Oh, the Leeds document. You just started watching The Sopranos. Well, you're gonna enjoy that. It's good. Napan rejected Arsenal, LOL, and elected to stay at Rosenborg. Yeah, so no Odegaard 2.0 for them. But maybe for us. Lyle says, I hate when players are labeled the next. It destroys them from the jump. In some cases, sure, but I hate it. Yeah, I don't like it either. It's stupid. There's never the next anybody. We have one of those players, and you're never going to get another one of those players. And the player, you know, especially just because it's like nationality. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure, like, he's a good midfielder for his age, but I'm sure his game is much different to Martin Odegaard. And they're just gonna link him as the next Martin Odegaard because they're literally the same nationality. It's very, very stupid. Like, you're never gonna get a player that's gonna be like somebody else. Each player is their own individual and they're their own player. So it's stupid to always be like, this is the next Beckham, the next Cantona, the next Van Nistelrooy, the next Rooney. Like, it's never gonna happen. There's no next. We have one of them. They're there and you'll never see them again. And the point of that is because if they are supposed to be great, they are not the next anybody. They are the next themselves, and they will make a place for themselves and a name for themselves where they won't be compared to somebody. They are them, right? Like, you know, maybe when Rooney was of that young age, they compared him to somebody. But after a certain period of time, Rooney was never... Nobody was saying Rooney is the next Gascoigne or something. Nobody was saying Rooney is this. They're just saying Rooney is Rooney, and he's Rooney. And now that his career is over, like, Rooney is just remembered as Rooney. Rooney is not remembered as, like, yeah, he was the second coming of whatever player you want to insert. Everybody is just like, Wayne Rooney is Wayne Rooney. Like, he made his own path. There's no comparing Wayne Rooney to anybody. It's just Wayne Rooney. That goes for any player, you know? But people try to say, like, we got to find the next Ronaldo. Like, you're never going to happen. Nobody ever found the next R9. Nobody ever found the next Pele. Nobody ever found the next Maradona. There's only one of them. And then the next players that come in, Messi is not Maradona. Messi is Messi. Ronaldo is Ronaldo. Ronaldo is not Eusebio. Ronaldo is not, you know what I mean? Like, they just find their own path. Like, Messi was the next Ronaldinho. They messed that one up. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it just doesn't... Wasn't Ronaldo the next Beckham because he was good at free kicks? Yeah, something like that. And, like, you know, and then they... You know, as Ronaldo started fixing up his looks and he started getting more money, he started looking more pretty boyish and he was doing these commercials with the underwear and there was a lot of links to Beckham. But Ronaldo's play style is completely different to Beckham, and like we're never gonna get another Beckham. There's only one Beckham. There only will ever be one Beckham, and there's gonna be nobody that's gonna be like Beckham. You know what I mean? And Ronaldo, they could compare Ronaldo to Beckham, but Ronaldo became Ronaldo, and nobody compares Ronaldo to Beckham anymore. It's Ronaldo is Ronaldo, and Beckham is Beckham, and they're just that. So, maybe they're saying a young player can reach the respected heights of the greats that came before them. I mean, I think that's what they're trying to do, Chad. Who's the next Van Basten? Chad, you missed it. Chad did miss it. Chad. Chad, you missed it. You want to see Chad? So we were talking yesterday, and you didn't believe me, or I don't know if you didn't want to buy what I was saying. But the legend of Chelsea has come out to say some things about your guy. And here he is, Mr. Freedom Fighter. And John Obi Mikel has stated, as Chelsea legend today, saying Jadon Sancho came in and deceived us. And us, he means Chelsea, with a couple games. And he said, and we thought, fucking hell, we are getting the Sancho from Dortmund. But he's gone again. And I don't know what happened to him, but he has disappeared off the grid. So yeah, it's not my disdain for Jadon Sancho that I say the things of Jadon Sancho. I'm telling you what Chelsea fans, and in this example, Chelsea legends are saying about Jadon Sancho. They are quite rightly probably upset with him and his performances. They're not happy with him. They don't want to pay us the money for him. They don't want him anymore. And even a club legend like John Obi Mikel is questioning what is going on with Jadon Sancho. And this is why I question his mentality and his attitude as a footballer. Didn't say he's dog shit, though. I mean, not directly, but listen, I can translate that. John Obi Mikel, he's being professional. I don't know where he said this on. He was on a podcast. Maybe he's trying to be a little bit nicer. But I can change those words into essentially saying, yeah, Jadon Sancho came in, deceived us with a couple games. We thought we're getting, a world-class player. We're getting the Sancho from Dortmund, but he's gone again. I don't know what happened to him. He's disappeared off the grid. I take disappeared off the grid as he's playing dog shit. It's equivalent. It's equivalent. Just saying. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he didn't say that directly, and fair play to him. I have the freedom to say what I want as an individual. As Jadon Sancho would support as a freedom fighter, I have the freedom to say that he is dog shit. And also, I'm not going to get canceled or anything. So, nothing's going to happen. I don't know what podcast that he's on there. Maybe, obviously he cursed, but, professional player, ex-professional player, maybe he didn't want to call him dog shit. But I'm a fan. And fans, we push the envelope a little bit more. But I just wanted to bring that in just to show you, like, it's not just like, because I don't like him. I'm not making things up. Like, the Chelsea fans are very furious with him. They're upset with him. They don't want to pay for him. They don't want him there. And then, like, somebody like John Obi Mikel, who is a legend of Chelsea, is echoing things of the Chelsea fans. That's all I wanted to bring in and say that. It's not just me. I'm not driving just an agenda here. Even though I admit that I don't like him, but I thought it was funny because I looked today and some of the United accounts were reposting this, and I was like, that's kind of funny considering we just had a whole discussion and argument about it yesterday. And I was like, you wake up and John Obi Mikel says something about it, and along the lines of basically what I was saying. So, Ozil was the next Bergkamp. Well, Ozil was very good. It didn't end well for him, but, and now he's huge, Ozil. I don't know, man's just taking steroids in the gym, but that dude is huge, bro. He bulked up like crazy. So, yeah. But we bring that thing back in for Chad, but that's all just fun and games. We're just having fun. But we're gonna end the show. We're gonna end the show because we gotta go. This show, and Chad believes he will have a good career. Well, maybe he will. I don't listen. In reality, I don't really care. If he does or he doesn't, you know, I'm not here saying I hope Jadon Sancho has the worst career ever possible. I just want him to keep his mouth closed about Manchester United. That's all. Go away, go play your football. I won't worry about you, and I won't say anything about you. But just don't talk about my club. It's in the past. Move on. But if he opens his mouth about my club, then I'm gonna have to say some things. But otherwise, if he keeps his mouth closed and he goes to other places, I ain't really gonna talk about him. No, he's gone. But the thing is that he opened his mouth. When I feel like he didn't need to. And if he keeps doing that, then yeah, you know, I'm gonna have to have some discussions about him. But he can go away. Show a pic of Ozil. I get you a pic. Dude, he's massive. The last time I seen him, he was like huge. I was like, oh my, come on, dude. This is from the Sun. This is from the Sun. I don't even know when it's from. When was this article written? September 2024, or it was updated. Yeah, it was published September 2nd, 2024. So pretty recent. Just give me a second and let me this didn't save correctly. Control Alt Delete. Oh, not Control Alt Delete. I don't know what I'm doing here. I had a screenshot. I forgot how to screenshot. I don't know if it's gonna work properly. Hold on, let me see. Is it gonna work? Actually gonna work? Here you go. Look at this guy. The guy's on steroids, bro. The guy's on steroids, bro. this guy's juicing, dude. He's got veins popping out everywhere. Like what is going on? What is going on? He's massive. Look at the difference. Hold on. Look at the difference. Look at the difference. Look at the difference of this guy. Like, there's no way, dude. This guy's got to be juicing, dude. WWE Ozil, he says. Yeah, dude. Like, oh my god. Yeah, Torres is another one. Lines. Torres is massive as well. Ozil is caught. He is. He's caught. They once said I was the nearest thing to George Best. That's because I lived in the house beside him. But look at the difference, dude. That's crazy. Like he was just like regular lean footballer. Now he's like jacked, like Hulk. Oh yeah, Hulk with Oz's face. Yeah, like just insane. But yeah, that's hilarious. I seen him last time. I was like, Jesus, what is this guy taking? I'm just joking, by the way. Like I'm just being exaggerative. I don't actually think that he's taking steroids. But he just like he's gotten huge. But listen, guys, we're gonna get out of here. I don't know how the rest of the week is gonna go, per se. In terms of streams for the rest of the week, I don't know if we'll be able to, because I don't know what hours I'm working. So I guess I'll figure out, or I'll find out, or I'll have more of an inclination tomorrow, when I actually go to work and see what what the deal is. So yeah, and if anything, I mean, we play Everton on Saturday. It's gonna be a tough match. We may even actually lose that one, which because they're in fine form and they're playing very good, and we're not. So I don't know if I'll be, and that one's very, very early. So if I have to actually work Saturday, which I don't know yet, I won't be able to do Red Devil recap of that game. And then obviously Sunday I leave. My flight's at 5:30 from here. I got to be at the airport like 2.5 hours before or so, 3 hours or so. So maybe I do a stream before that and then I get out of here. I'll keep you guys posted. I'll keep you guys updated about what shows we can or cannot do before I get out of here on Sunday for 2 weeks. But other than that, everybody take care. Thank you for the support. Thank you if you smashed the like button, and thank you guys for getting involved in the chat as always and carrying the discussion and being a good community. And everybody just take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. And we'll speak very, very soon. And I'll keep you guys posted on what we can do. And then after I come back, we'll sort some more stuff out for the channel. We'll probably get the call-in show going. We'll get the nice emojis that Lyle worked very, very hard on. We'll get those implemented as well. We'll get the Discord up and running and chatting and ready to go so we could chat when we're not live. And we could chat about other things. But up until then, everybody take care, and we'll see you all later. Stay safe and be good.